So you just saved 4 adorable little babies. And to pay you back, these tiny cuties straight up decide to offer their mom to you in marriage. They even yell daddy in perfect unison, completely melting your heart on the spot. Once you call the cops, you try asking for their address, but little Grape just hugs you and starts crying. She sobbed that you're finally reunited, calling you her superhero and saying how much she missed her daddy. Honestly, you can't help but laugh and cry at these sweet girls. You're only 25 with 0 kids, and the only wild night in your past was when your ex-girlfriend Linda totally set you up. While you're lost in thought, the 4 little dumplings suddenly speak up together. They ask if you want a stunning, fair-skinned wife with long legs. Thinking they are just playing, you smile and rub their heads. You jokingly say, sure, introduce her to uncle, but keep in mind that I'm not actually your dad. You try explaining they shouldn't call you that, but the little cuties just pout, looking completely helpless and refusing to believe you. With no other choice, you take them to the local police station. Meanwhile, over at the Emperor Group, the drama is starting to explode as a guy in a loud floral shirt bursts in. He wails to his auntie that little Puff and the others have been kidnapped. Chloe White, who is right in the middle of a video conference, freezes, slams her laptop shut, and storms over. She demands that Leo White repeat himself. Looking at this absolutely terrifying female boss, Leo holds back his tears and says it is like this, Auntie. His mom took little Puff and the others to a birthday party at the Lee family home, but halfway through, they just wandered off and followed some stranger away. As the cold and decisive head of the powerful White family, Chloe does not play around. She immediately pulls out her phone, dialing her assistant Jack and giving him exactly 5 minutes to locate her daughters. Once Chloe finally rushes to the police station, you are already inside busy signing the official paperwork. Scared her mom might ruin things, little Puff sneaks outside early and happily yells mommy. Spotting Chloe from a distance, the little girl runs over and takes a very close look at her. Today, Chloe is in a sharp business suit, her trousers covering her long legs while her shirt is buttoned all the way up, hiding every inch of skin. Little Puff instantly starts frowning. She tells her mom to change her style, saying a woman should dress to impress her man. She begs her to wear cute pink outfits, but Chloe looks down, flatly stating she is not a toddler anymore. She does not need pink. Plus she knows these sisters are far too smart to get tricked by a stranger. What actually happened today? Her daughters are total geniuses. By age 2, they were already messing with elite hackers, and now they each manage their own tech domains. Given their insane intelligence, Chloe heavily suspects they wanted to get kidnapped today. Little Puff just smiles. Caught red-handed by her mommy, the little girl smiles brightly, admitting the guy promised to help find their daddy. Hearing this makes Chloe frown deeply. When she was born, a fortune teller predicted that daughters of the White family would be completely infertile, making it almost impossible to have kids, so she grew up training in business instead of acting like a delicate lady. Instead, she learned to run the family empire right alongside her father and brothers. She truly believed she would never get to be a mother in her lifetime. But then, 5 years ago, she was set up and ended up with a stranger. Because of a sudden family crisis and zero time, she left without even seeing his face clearly, though her family later warned her to take immediate precautions. But believing she was completely infertile with nothing to fear, she did not take any morning after pills. Who could have guessed she would actually end up pregnant with quadruplet daughters? Even though they completely flipped her life upside down, she never once regretted them, though she always believed they never needed a father. She never imagined they would literally let themselves be fooled just to search for him. Little Puff insists they found their daddy this time, grabbing Chloe by the hand and pulling her inside. Chloe looks down with heavy suspicion, gently asking her if some stranger is just lying to them. Because no matter how smart they are still just kids. If anyone dared to lie to her girls, Chloe would make sure they paid dearly. Little Puff just looked up at her. The little girl said seriously, Mommy, Daddy isn't a liar. He's a total hero who saved us today. But Chloe would be the judge of that herself. Chloe refused to let her kids get used by some stranger, confident she could read his true motives in a single glance. Just after signing the papers, you spot the file on the desk, your old prison record. That's the harsh reality of having a record. Even when you do something heroic, the cops still interrogate you like a suspect. You just smile bitterly. An old, impulsive mistake was now a weapon for Frank, who kept using it to drag you down over and over. Before you can even ask the officer to put the file away, little Cherry pulls out her phone, showing a picture of Chloe and asking Daddy, "What do you think of this woman? Gorgeous, perfectly stunning. And on top of that, she's completely single and unbelievably rich." It turns out, little Puff texted her earlier, telling her to start hyping up their mommy right away. Crouching down to look at the screen, you can't help but chuckle. Cherry, sweetheart, that's literally the wealthiest woman in the entire capital. A regular guy with your background could never stand a chance with an elite tycoon like her. But innocent little Cherry doesn't care about status, chirping happily, "Daddy, if you like her, then she is officially your wife now." She insists she has her ways, making you laugh. Gently pinching her cheek, you tease, "Oh, so you're really that powerful, huh?" "Definitely. For my daddy, I can become super duper powerful." Little Cherry salutes with absolute seriousness, while Little Mochi and Little Grape quickly jump in, refusing to be left behind. They shout, "Daddy, we can help too. We'll make you a rich son-in-law. Go get that marriage certificate tomorrow." Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo from the hallway, and Little Puff happily announces he's right inside. Holding Little Puff's tiny hand, Chloe pushes the door open, catching the tail end of her daughter's wild scheme. Her perfect face immediately turns cold, convinced this man is just using her little girls to worm his way to her. And then, you turn around, and your jaw completely hits the floor at her stunningly perfect features. You can't help but marvel this elite businesswoman is somehow even more breathtaking in person than in her photos. Though her sharp black suit gives off a pretty frosty, distant vibe, the rumored demon boss of the capital definitely lives up to the hype. Right now, Chloe's sharp eyes are also sizing you up with intense, cold scrutiny. For years, she's forced herself onto endless blind dates with rich heirs, all trying to find a decent dad for her girls. But the handsome ones were always way too weak or massive players, while the unattractive guys had hilariously high standards. Not a single one of them ever impressed her. But this guy, despite chatting up her kids, actually has sharp looks, a tall frame, and a pretty impressive vibe to him. He's definitely different from the rest. Still, you didn't expect this legendary, cold-hearted boss to just silently stare, making you feel pretty awkward. "Mommy, this is the husband we chose for you. Check this out." Sensing the weird tension, Little Puff speaks up cutely, causing you to literally choke on your own breath. You stare at the little girl in absolute disbelief. "Wait, did you hear that right? Did she just call Chloe mommy? So the 4 little sweethearts you rescued this entire time are actually her daughters. Daddy, this is our mommy Chloe White. Isn't she incredibly pretty?" Little Grape grabs your hand, grinning, before casually suggesting you two should head to the marriage registry tomorrow. Little Cherry taps on her phone, checking a calendar, and nods in agreement. Yep, tomorrow is a highly auspicious wedding day. The perfect timing. Leo White, who initially just wanted to kick back and watch the drama unfold, can't help but step in. He circles around you a few times before shouting in absolute excitement. "I know him," Chloe says flatly, making the room temperature drop as Leo asks if she really knows you. "What does he do?" she asks, her suspicious tone making you feel pretty uncomfortable. But as you look at her under the bright lights, her red lips are pressed into a strict line, yet the very corners are actually tilted slightly upward. It's honestly pretty attractive, and surprisingly a little cute. For some strange reason, her eyes look incredibly familiar, but you quickly shake the thought away. How could a guy like you ever cross paths with an elite tycoon like Chloe White? Noticing your stare, she crosses her arms, looking even colder. Still, for the sake of her kids, she holds back her usual terrifying aura. Finally snapping out of his daze, Leo White smiles warmly at Chloe Auntie. He actually works in the entertainment industry. If she recalls correctly, she says, "You're just a stunt double." You rub your nose awkwardly, clear your throat, and explain that you've actually transitioned into an official actor now, though your resources are still pretty lacking. Chloe stares at you thoughtfully before asking if you only approached her daughters because you wanted her to hand you acting resources. You understand her thoughts. After all, she's a massive female tycoon, and countless people have plotted and schemed just to get a single favor or resource from her over the years. But when you saved Little Puff and her sisters, you had absolutely no clue they belonged to her. You shake your head, insisting it was just a favor. So she assumes you want money, completely unable to read you. Before you can even answer, Little Puff gets upset, crossing her tiny arms and glaring at her mother with pure disappointment. "Mommy, even with all our wealth, we can't insult Daddy with cash," she says, "because Daddy isn't that kind of greedy person." Chloe frowns. Then, her eyes lock onto the files sitting on the table. "Oh, check this out." She instantly scans your file and realizes you have a prison record. Talk about absolute embarrassment. There's no hiding it now, so you awkwardly admit that you got into a bad fight right after graduating college. Men are much more handsome when they know how to fight to protect their future wife and kids. Little Grape speaks up for you from the side, while Little Cherry nods along, telling their mommy not to judge books by covers. "Daddy is a truly wonderful person who saved us," she adds, "and he never tried to trick us like those other weirdos do." Little Mochi blinks, looking adorable and soft in her pink outfit, before turning to stare at you with an incredibly serious face. "Daddy doesn't just want money for now," she declares. "He wants to spend his whole life protecting Mommy and us forever." You let out some awkward coughs and quickly scoop little Mochi into your arms. Tell her not to say such wild things, insisting you don't have any inappropriate thoughts about her mother. But meeting Chloe's icy gaze, her face clearly warns you that if you dare try anything, she will absolutely end you. Honestly, you feel pretty intimidated by her. Little Puff looks between the two of you, coughs twice, and reminds her mommy that she always taught them not to judge people too quickly, so she shouldn't write daddy off over a single piece of paper. She claims you have to live with him to realize that he's a truly decent and upright guy. He can bring you real happiness, she says, leaving Chloe quite shocked since her 4 girls have been geniuses from day one. Their standards are strict, incredibly high, just like her own. Yet they clearly adore this guy named Jack, and she can't fathom what kind of crazy spell you've cast on them to make them love you this much. They ask why mommy shouldn't just marry daddy tomorrow, since she's been single so long. Little Cherry suddenly leans forward, blinking with a super cute expression. Chloe refuses instantly. She'll offer cash and resources, but marriage? Absolutely out of the question. You're insulting daddy with your smelly money. Little Cherry snaps back, claiming she already calculated that daddy is their ultimate lucky star. You must marry him. Chloe demands they stop this nonsense inside a police station. Chloe's tone gets incredibly terrifying, which even leaves Leo White standing nearby feeling pretty shaken up. But wait, these kids are even more stubborn than their mother, and their faces get dead serious. Watch this. Crossing their tiny arms, they stand defensively in front of you, with little Puff threatening to starve herself to death if they don't marry. Little Mochi chimes in next, promising to die of thirst, as Little Cherry quickly backs them up. Little Grape adds that she'll never go home or kiss mommy again, and will cry herself to death, which really pinches Chloe's heart. Her own precious daughters are actually throwing a massive tantrum over a complete stranger. Auntie, you should coax them first. Otherwise, if they truly start making a scene, it gets terrifying. Leo White has witnessed these 4 treasures spark absolute chaos when throwing tantrums, and he definitely doesn't want a repeat of that. Even the police officer steps forward, gently reminding Chloe that they are still inside a public police station. He suggests taking the family drama home to resolve, which Chloe naturally agrees is the right move for now. She walks over, crouches down in front of her daughters, and gently pats each of their little heads. Puff, Grape, Cherry, Mochi, let's go home first, she coaxes, but they shake their heads, stepping back closer to you. It's extremely clear that they won't leave unless you come along too. After a tense silence, Chloe suddenly glares at you and orders you to come over. You sigh, quickly comfort the 4 little girls, and walk over to her with a helpless smile on your face. She snaps that she does not care what you are planning because she will never marry you. Then Chloe pulls out a bank card. There is no pin on this card, so you can take whatever you want. All she asks is that you convince her daughters to go home. But there was no way you were accepting her cash like this. You absolutely refuse to let the little treasures be disappointed. Smiling, you tell Miss White that you never planned on wrapping yourself up with a wealthy tycoon like her. There is no need for this cash. Keep it for the kids. Hearing this, Chloe is completely stunned. Staring deep into your eyes, she asks if you are serious. You simply reply that you only spend what you earn. With those words, you turn around and head straight back to the kids. Crouching down, you ask Little Puff, Little Mochi, Little Grape, and Little Cherry if they want to see you happy. The sweet girls nod together, chanting that they only listen to daddy. So you gently explain that they need to go home with their mother. But we want you and mommy married. Little Puff pouts, looking deeply conflicted. You whisper a secret in her ear. Instantly, her eyes light up. Really? So, can you take them home now? She nods happily inside the limousine. Inside the massive limousine, Leo White steals a few glances at Chloe and asks if she is not even a little curious. He winks at Puff, wondering aloud what that Jack guy actually told her. Honestly, Chloe was not even interested at first. But your face suddenly pops into her thoughts, along with that incredibly cool and confident vibe you had while speaking. Giving in, she turns to her eldest daughter and asks what he said. Little Puff beams. Daddy promised he will chase after mommy officially and marry her in the most spectacular way possible. He wants to give mommy protection, not sadness. Now that is what I call a confession. And Leo is thrilled. Oh, he already knows his future uncle is an absolute legend. But look at Chloe, her hand is actually trembling. Plenty of guys have confessed to her, but Jack is definitely a bit different from the rest. Little Puff looks up with big, puppy dog eyes and asks if mommy can please marry daddy now. If she does not, would it not completely waste all this effort? Still, Chloe maintains her icy glare. She calmly states that kids should not be worrying about this. Little Puff immediately puffs her cheeks and sighs. Seriously, her mom has absolutely zero romance in her veins. She glances over at her 3 younger sisters. Looks like they will have to handle this themselves to make sure they get a real father in their lives. Chloe has no clue what her 4 daughters are plotting right now as she quietly stares out the window. Memories of that wild night flood back, making her wonder if finding that man would finally complete her daughters' lives. Back in your tiny rented apartment, you whip up a quick dinner. You keep your eyes glued to the local acting group chats. With the delivery gig gone, you desperately need roles. You might be signed to an agency, but you still do not have a real manager. Suddenly, your phone rings. You check the screen and see the number 98. Half asleep, you pick up and hear a sweet voice call you daddy. Hearing Little Puff's tiny voice, you instantly snap awake, recognizing your favorite little sweethearts right away. Sitting up, you check the clock and realize it is almost 11 p.m. Why are you girls still awake? Puff whispers that she and her sisters miss you way too much to sleep, her sweet voice brimming with love. Hearing that, your heart completely aches for them. You softly tell Puff to be good and go to sleep with her sisters. I will visit in a few days, okay? But Daddy, we really want to hear you sing, Little Puff begs, turning to her sisters. These poor girls had everything since birth except for a father to hold them. You do not even understand why, but hearing their tiny, sweet voices completely breaks your heart, though you keep it bottled up. Okay, Daddy. We will sing instead, but you must promise to sleep now. But before you sing, can you give us your ID details? As she asks, Little Puff quickly nudges Little Cherry beside her. Little Cherry is a literal computer prodigy, and she has already hacked straight into the city marriage registry system to dig up his files. Their mommy is already logged in, and now they just need their dad. You ask, completely confused, why do you kids need that? We just want to remember your birthday so we can get a super special surprise ready for you, Daddy. Little Puff insists. Without suspecting a single thing, you happily give the 4 adorable babies your personal registration details. Right beside her, Little Cherry's fingers fly across the keyboard, instantly putting in your ID info to lock down a marriage registration appointment. Back on your bed, you lie down and ask them softly what song the babies want to hear. The 4 little girls are incredibly supportive, shouting that they love whatever Daddy sings because his songs are the best in the world. They absolutely adore your voice, and with a soft smile, you treat them to a sweet rendition of Lonely Hero. Since the girls have the phone on speaker, Chloe, who is standing right outside the door, hears every single note. She never expected your voice to sound this beautiful and deeply captivating. Once you finish the song, the line goes quiet. Assuming they fell asleep, you whisper a gentle goodnight to your babies. But the moment you hang up, the 4 little girls, who are totally faking it, snap their eyes open as Puff rushes to shut the door. Double-checking that the coast is clear, she whispers to Cherry that their dad needs serious cash to survive the entertainment industry. She tells her to send some cash to his account, nothing too crazy, just a cool $100 million. Cherry wastes no time logging into their bank account and instantly wiring $100 million directly into your private funds. Watching from the side, Little Grape checks her own phone, raises her tiny hand, and speaks up. Since their dad doesn't have any movie roles, they should invest in a film and make him the main star, and she'll even write his theme song. Mochi wants to pitch in too, making Puff nod in agreement as she asks what their ultimate plan is. The other 3 promise to spoil their dad to the absolute top of the food chain. Bright and early the next morning, Elder White and the family elders arrive to pressure Chloe to marry. At the dinner table, their heavy stares never leave Chloe. Getting a major headache from their intense focus, Chloe puts down her chopsticks and coldly asks what they want to say. She is celebrating her 25th birthday in a few days, and other chief executives her age are already married. Elder White earnestly insists it's time to find a father for Puff and the girls, making Chloe pinch her nose and sigh that marriage is sacred. She makes it clear she won't accept a husband who only marries her to play babysitter. Elder White starts getting anxious. He has been pushing this for years, but his stubborn daughter refuses to budge. At his age, surrounded by happy grandchildren, he just wants his independent daughter to finally have a complete life. Seeing her grandfather about to lose his cool, Little Puff blinks her big eyes and tells him not to worry. She reveals Mommy already has a boyfriend, instantly changing Elder White's entire expression. Smiling widely at Puff, he eagerly asks if that's true, begging her to tell him what kind of man his daughter likes. Before Puff can blab your name, Chloe quickly covers her tiny mouth, telling her father not to listen to their nonsense. Chloe insists she doesn't like anyone while shooting a sharp warning look at her other 3 daughters, but Elder White just narrows his eyes. All the other family elders at the table exchange knowing grins, because they know exactly who Chloe White is. She is famously proud and aloof, meaning if she genuinely had zero interest in a guy, she would say so directly. But look at her now, shutting up her own daughter is a dead giveaway that something is going on. Knowing his daughter's sharp temper all too well, the old man knows exactly when to back off. He waits until Chloe heads off to work, personally takes the 4 little treasures to kindergarten, and directly asks if their mom really has a crush. Puff nods instantly. She proudly tells him they never lie, and that mommy already met up with their dad. Hearing this, Elder White knows the guy must be amazing if the girls approve. After all, those brilliant little girls have incredibly high standards. He urges them to take him to see him right away, wanting to prepare the perfect gifts to help his future son-in-law win his daughter over. Obviously, the entire elite White family is ready to mobilize and back him up. But little Puff strokes her chin and shakes her head with a very serious face, saying their dad is incredibly sweet and gets a little shy. She warns him that the grandparents and relatives are way too intense and might scare him off, before handing the old man a small card. Wait! Get this, she actually signed the entire family up for a son-in-law pampering class. Once the grandparents, uncles, and aunts all master the art of spoiling their new daddy, only then will they be allowed to meet him. Elder White thinks it over, and honestly agrees he needs the prep. He nods and promises they will complete the training first. But if their future dad needs cash, a yacht, or anything else, they must tell him immediately. After all, he is ready to pass down his entire fortune to his future son-in-law. Smiling happily, little Puff thanks her sweet grandpa. By the time the school day comes to an end, Chloe is still pretty worried her chaotic daughters might cause trouble, so she decides to personally pick them up and drive them home. Pulling up to the school gates, Chloe spotted her 4 adorable daughters standing there like perfect little angels. "Come on, babies, let's head home." Chloe gently gestured for them to climb into the car, but completely out of nowhere, the 4 girls just stood their ground in perfect unison. Not a single one moved. Not an inch. Chloe's face turned serious. "Get in the car and let's go home," she repeated. But right then, little Grape, who absolutely loved acting cute, trotted straight over to wrap her arms around Chloe's leg, begging in the sweetest little voice. She said, "Your future husband misses you, so go see him now." Chloe stared down at her daughter's big, innocent, blinking eyes, instantly realizing she was totally being set up. Yet she didn't say no. Mostly because she was actually pretty curious about what you were up to. "Fine," she sighed, "just once." They instantly cheered, shouting how much they loved their mommy. Seeing them so thrilled made Chloe look on thoughtfully, deeply surprised that you already had such a massive influence over them. But watch this back on your end, you finally landed a role playing a royal guard. Right after you finished getting your makeup done and felt totally ready to shoot, the lead actress threw a massive diva fit for absolutely no reason, throwing the whole crew way behind schedule as the sky slowly faded to black. Checking your watch, you realized something. You needed to grab a quick convenience store lunchbox to survive this incredibly long night shoot. But as you turned toward the food stalls, you absolutely never expected to run straight into Chloe and her girls. Forget her usual black trousers this time. She was wearing a sleek black silk shirt paired with a stunning black pencil skirt. Her legs looked incredibly long, but her expression was so incredibly icy it could freeze you right on the spot. You could only blink in shock as little Grape rushed over first, her starry eyes filled with pure adoration. Sweeping her up into your arms, you asked her why they had come all this way. Little Grape sweet talked about missing her daddy and wanting dinner, leaving you with no choice but to apologize. "I still have scenes to shoot tonight," you explained, "so I cannot join you guys." Her chubby face fell in total disappointment as she looked back at Chloe, while little Puff, being just as decisive as her mother, stepped up and instantly made the call. "No shoots tonight. Everyone goes home." She declared nothing is more important than daddy having dinner, which instantly made cold sweat run down your forehead. "Hold on," you stammered. "I can't be that selfish," but the girls pouted, insisting they had to eat together. As Grape pouted her lips wondering what to do, little Cherry turned her eyes toward Chloe. She suggested having their world-class private chef deliver whatever food their daddy wanted to eat right to the set. Before anyone could even react, little Mochi had already pulled out her phone to call the villa. You quickly stopped her, explaining that doing something so flashy would look crazy since you were just an extra. Having private catering would start massive gossip, and hearing this, little Mochi frowned, muttering how much she hated showbiz. She casually admitted she wanted to buy the entire entertainment industry for you, while Chloe noticed your growing worry. Chloe stepped in, gently telling the girls to just make do with a nearby restaurant for tonight. "We can make it up to him later," Chloe said, and little Puff immediately grabbed both your hands in excitement. "You promised, Mommy, you have to treat Daddy later," making Chloe's lips twitch at the sudden trap. These brilliant little troublemakers were getting seriously hard to handle, even for someone of her high status. After thinking it over, you brought the family to a decent 3-star hotel, located right near the set. You will not believe this, little Puff casually hands her personal black card straight to the manager. The heiress of the city's richest family was truly built different. "Daddy, the conditions here are a bit tight," she noted. "Let's just eat something simple today," she apologized, looking incredibly guilty, as if she was forcing you to starve. You could only offer a strained smile while screaming inside. Babies, are you serious? This is absolutely not a simple meal. These are literally top-tier luxury dishes we are eating. Since the manager knew exactly who Chloe was, the kitchen prepared and served everything with lightning speed. Looking at the massive feast, the sisters didn't even take a bite themselves, immediately piling food onto your plate instead. Try this Australian lobster first, Grape insisted, while Cherry offered some rich hairy crab packed with delicious roe. It is incredibly fragrant, while little Mochi pushed forward some healthy braised chicken with sea cucumber. I cooled it down for you, so it's ready to eat. Little Puff, this Buddha jumps over the wall soup is absolutely delicious, too. Here, Daddy, take a bite first. Sitting across from Jack, Chloe felt pretty complicated about all of this. She watched Jack interact with her babies. Over the years, even as their actual mother, she had never been pampered like this by her own daughters. Yet, Jack was getting this royal treatment. Chloe suddenly realized his influence on her little treasures was much bigger than she thought. After being fed by the four girls for a bit, Jack finally noticed her staring right at him. He frowned slightly, realizing they were still calling him Daddy, and quickly told them, Puff, Mochi, Cherry, Grape, you cannot call me Daddy anymore, okay? If your real father comes looking for you one day, it might cause trouble. Hearing this, the four babies immediately looked up with totally heartbreaking faces. Does Daddy not like us anymore? I knew it. We are just annoying and not worth loving. But what do? We really, really like Daddy. As they spoke, the little girls looked like they were about to burst into tears. Jack's heart instantly melted. He turned and asked her, Miss White, where is the baby's real father? Chloe had never hidden this from her daughters. So when Jack asked, she answered him completely naturally. 5 years ago, she was set up and drugged by a business rival, leading to Puff and the others with a stranger. Hearing this, Jack realized they were actually in the same boat. He thought to himself, while she coldly added that Puff and the others liked him. She was quite surprised. Next, Chloe took out another bank card and slid it right over to him. She offered to hire Jack as their home tutor, so he could teach them some self-defense and spend more time with them. But Jack pushed the bank card right back, refusing the money. Hearing this, Chloe's expression changed instantly. Chloe asked him what he meant, but Jack explained he loved the girls and did not want money involved. Chloe fell silent for a long moment before stating that the White family never owes favors to anyone. Jack understood she was a woman of pretty strong principles. Looking at the girls, he turned to Chloe and said, if you insist on expressing gratitude, you could wear matching family outfits with Puff and the girls a few more times. Chloe definitely did not expect a request like that. Matching family outfits? She could not help but frown. Seeing her mommy frown, little Puff immediately worried and begged her not to be so fierce to Daddy. You will scare him away. Little Grape even started throwing threats, saying she would not like mommy anymore. Seeing the sudden tension, Jack quickly picked up Little Grape and tried to calm the girls down. He told them he was just joking, urging them not to be mad. Plus, he had scenes to film. He could not be late. Hearing this, the four little girls fell quiet, almost like a spell had been cast. They lowered their little heads in unison, nodding with incredibly gentle and obedient movements. At this moment, Chloe's feelings were totally mixed. Her daughters genuinely seemed to care more about Jack. Her four little treasures usually had endless schemes. She never expected them to fall this hard for a total stranger. Chloe looked at him thoughtfully, then suddenly agreed that she would actually consider his suggestion. After finishing dinner, Jack left the hotel with Chloe and her daughters. Jack was excited to let the little babies tag along to watch him act, but absolutely nobody expected the drama waiting for them on set. Suddenly, a sharp, ear-piercing female voice rang out, demanding to know if he was Jack in a purely furious tone. You were scheduled for the murder scene, so where the hell were you? Are you trying to kill me and delay our progress? Wow, talk about a storm. This sudden, fierce attack caught him pretty off guard. The one throwing this tantrum was the lead actress, Stella. She was a trending starlet, backed by some serious, heavy capital. Naturally, she acted like a massive diva. Earlier, she was actually the one refusing to do any filming at all. Now, she was just taking out her anger on innocent people. The crew was furious but did not dare speak up as Stella screamed, asking if Jack wanted to get completely blacklisted. The more Stella spoke, the more fired up she got, even starting to boast about her powerful connections. She bragged that her sponsor was young Master Wu, who did major business with the massive Emperor Group. She demanded compensation for her mental distress, lost wages, and supplements, before yawning and lazily turning away. Dismissing him, she announced she was getting her beauty sleep and would let her manager settle the score later. Telling him not to mess with her, Stella strutted off like she owned the place and boarded her luxury RV. Watching her walk away just gave you a massive headache, because Stella was clearly trying to extort you. There was absolutely no way you were paying her a single cent. Right then, Stella's plastic manager Maggie walked over. This 40-something woman was practically made of plastic surgery, her eyes gleaming as she stared. She shoved a hotel room card right into your hand and whispered something creepy in your ear. She said she knows being a newbie in showbiz is tough, promising not to make things hard if you visit her room tonight. She asked if you got her meaning. Once Maggie left, you stared at the card and almost lost your mind. Seriously, trying to trap you on a casting couch? What an absolute joke. Chloe and her daughters had been watching from afar the whole time, only walking over once Maggie was gone. Chloe's gorgeous face was completely frozen as she stared. She asked if you needed help, but you shook your head, wanting to keep her out of this mess. You thanked Miss White but told her you could handle it. She sighed, telling you there was no need to act tough. Her brow furrowed slightly as a dark cloud settled over her pale face. You could tell she was pretty unhappy. They say a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. But a powerful female tycoon was even harder to read. Not wanting to upset her, you smiled and insisted that you really were not trying to act tough. You explained that you had been in the entertainment industry for 3 or 4 years and knew exactly how to deal with this garbage. But Little Grape looked at you with absolute heartbreak, whispering that she was worried her daddy's hands would get hurt. That completely melted your heart, so you promised the sweet girl your hands would not hurt, and if they did, you would let her heal them. You rubbed Little Grape's head, and she happily agreed, promising to blow any of the pain away for her daddy. After parting ways with Chloe and the kids, you still took the room card to confront Maggie. Maggie, preying on male actors, was a massive open secret in the business. But while everyone else was terrified to expose her, you had zero fear. You had nothing left to lose, so you quickly tipped off a paparazzi friend and hid a voice recorder inside your pocket. Right as the elevator doors closed behind you, a massive, imposing Lincoln pulled into the hotel parking lot. Little Puff, Little Grape, Little Cherry, and Little Mochi all stared up at Chloe. Chloe looked completely cold and hyper-focused on her work, making Little Puff panic and beg her mommy to quickly send help for Daddy. The bad lady was going to eat him alive, but Chloe calmly told them to trust him. Little Cherry sighed heavily, looking totally frustrated by her mother's complete lack of action. She argued that Daddy only refused their help because he did not want to drag them into his mess. He was only trying to protect Mommy's reputation, and a sweet man like that was practically impossible to find these days. If Mommy does not go pamper and save Daddy right now, she is definitely going to regret it later. Chloe pinched her nose, helplessly asking if they really wanted her to help him that badly. The 4 little girls nodded eagerly. Chloe paused, then immediately made a quick call. The person on the other end got the message and immediately sprinted over like their pants were on fire. But check this out, right as that old cougar starts harassing you, Chloe bursts in with the kids. Instantly, the temperature in the entire room plummeted to freezing. The girls puffed their cheeks, shooting absolute daggers at the old bat, while Maggie nearly jumped out of her skin seeing Chloe. The second she heard the kids call you Daddy, Maggie's legs turned to jelly and she collapsed, weeping and wiping her face. She added a desperate threat about how things work in this business. Maggie warned that pushing someone to a dead end would only ruin both of you, making her threat extremely obvious. While the little girls were absolutely furious, Chloe remained completely calm and collected. Without skipping a beat, she turned to her assistant Xiao Yuan, ordering him to make sure Maggie disappeared from the industry by tomorrow morning. Maggie turned pale as death. Shaking, she begged Mrs. White to spare her out of respect for young Master Wu, who had major deals with the Emperor Group, but that only served as a perfect reminder for Chloe. She immediately ordered Zhao Yuan to terminate their partnership with the Wu family. She warned that if they chose to protect her, the Wu family would be completely ruined. Maggie almost fainted from sheer terror. She had truly kicked a steel plate this time, staring at you weakly in complete and utter disbelief. Please, I beg you, go talk to Chloe. Do not drag us all into a dead end because if she gets involved, we are completely finished. But you just fold your arms and shrug, acting totally helpless. Nobody commands Chloe. Right now, it finally clicks why everyone in the capital calls this stunning woman a dangerous, ruthless demon boss. Cross her once, you lose everything. She is just too dangerous. First, she has her bodyguards take the babies home, then climbs into the car alone with you. After a sudden blur of motion, she pins you flat against the back seat. Her delicate fingers slide between yours, locking her hand tightly with yours. She whispers that seeing another woman get handsy with you today made her pretty uncomfortable. You are totally stunned. But what really gets awkward is the intense way Chloe is straddling you. Any more of this, and things are going to get completely out of hand. Chloe, you need to get down first. This is dangerous. Do not test my self-control like this. No answer. Instead, she frees one hand and starts searching your body. Stop it, Chloe, or else I cannot control myself. She just smirks, asking what exactly you will do if you lose control. With that, she suddenly leans in. Her soft lips brush lightly against your neck, quick and teasing like a dragonfly skimming the water. You are on the edge. A total breakdown. Chloe, do you really want to find out? Her face goes dead serious. Show me then, she says. But just as you are battling your inner demons, your phone starts ringing. Her face darkens instantly. You quickly reach for the call, but the phone slips out of your hand and lands right in front of her. She lunges to grab it, trying to back off, but clumsily ends up pressing herself right against your chest instead. Talk about an absolute pressure cooker. And to make it even worse, that phone just keeps ringing like crazy. Not wanting to make Chloe uncomfortable, you gently hold her waist with one hand while using your other hand to answer the call. Simon is on the line, sounding incredibly arrogant, demanding that you hurry up and get over here. He warns that if you do not show up, you will. Suddenly, a panicked scream echoes. Please don't. Your face darkens. That is your cousin Mia crying out. Simon, you want me, so do not touch Mia. You growl into the receiver, I am coming right now, and then you slam it down. After a quick word to Chloe, you tell her that you are going after Simon, you have to absolutely crush that trash first. But seeing you head out to fight alone, Chloe gets incredibly serious. I know you can take care of those punks, she says, but you have me and the kids now. We cannot let you get hurt alone. Emotion floods your chest as you try to explain that you know martial arts. A sick psycho like Simon needs a harsh lesson only you can deliver. You are all too clean, you say. I do not want you getting dirty. But Chloe tells you she just fears you will get hurt. Saying that, Chloe takes your hand, gently kissing your open palm. This woman is dangerously hard to resist. Unable to say no to her sweet persuasion, you finally agree to let her come with you to the banquet. Simon's birthday bash is happening over at the Song family's exclusive private club. But watch out, things inside are already spiraling completely out of control. Poor Mia is in an absolute nightmare, her clothes torn up as she is forced to play a cello on stage, while Simon records it all with a sick, twisted smile. Keep playing, he sneers, I want more. If you need motivation, we can gladly help you find some. Despicable men surround Mia, laughing right in her face as tears stream down. Completely unstoppable. Surrounded by absolute darkness, she felt like she would never see the light again. The moment you and Chloe step out, you hear waiters whispering about the madness inside. Get ready, because your fists clench tight. You stop Chloe right before the entrance, warning her that the scene inside might get pretty ugly. Chloe simply snaps her fingers, and bodyguards 5 meters away instantly rush forward. She looks at you, completely blank-faced. Anyone who offends our sight should lose their eyes. But since you want to go in, what can she do? Go ahead and smash whatever you want today. If anything breaks, the White family has your back. Saying that, Chloe links her arm through yours, leaning in close to whisper right next to your ear. She reminds you that in public, you are her master. You take a deep breath, feeling like your heart might literally explode. Inside the hall, Simon is losing his mind. He grabs a small bucket of champagne and pours it directly over her. He demands Mia call you right now and tell you to come save her. Simon smirks, promising to stop torturing her if she gets you here for a photo. Mia can only tremble in terror. Mia knew exactly what Simon was planning. The bastard wanted her to lure you in just so he could completely crush you. Simon violently grabbed Mia by her hair, slamming her right against the cello as she cried out that she had no idea. She whimpered that she did not understand, enduring the pain while Simon mocked her for being such a loyal sister. He sneered, asking if a complete piece of trash like Jack actually deserved any of her protection. Fed up with her acting, Simon turned to his goons and ordered them to gather round and film a little video. Since Jack is in show business, they might as well make his cousin a famous star on camera today. The disgusting thugs immediately swarmed her, pinning poor Mia to the cold floor like absolute animals. Mia screamed and begged them to stop, but Simon just laughed, promising not only to do it, but to live stream the whole thing. As Simon pulled out his phone to start recording, the doors swung open. You and Chloe finally arrived. The bastards instantly froze, but Mia panicked when she saw you, screaming out to ask why on earth you came. She begged you to run before they killed you, crying out to ask why you did not just listen to her. Mia kept sobbing, terrified for your safety. But you just kept walking inside step by step, keeping your arm firmly around Chloe's waist. Oh, you can already feel the storm brewing. The moment you saw her on the floor, your eyes filled with pure, murderous rage. Simon did not know Chloe, but seeing her next to you, he just smirked and licked his lips. He mocked you, asking if you brought this girl for him, bragging that he would not hold back. Without warning, the bastard grabbed a massive champagne bottle and hurled it straight at your face, but you casually kicked it midair. The heavy bottle instantly flew backward, smashing right into the face of the punk standing next to Simon. That thug was knocked out cold, foaming at the mouth on the floor, while Mia desperately grabbed and hugged Simon's leg to stop him. Knowing he wanted to attack you, Mia used every ounce of her strength to hold Simon back. Seeing your cousin do this, your expression turned absolutely freezing cold. You quickly shielded Chloe behind your back, telling Mia to let go, while Simon stood there fuming because his own goon got wrecked. Needless to say, the guy was furious. After screaming a curse, he waved his hand, ordering all his guards to charge, but he completely underestimated your insane power. Keeping Chloe safe with one hand, you easily dismantled them with the other, leaving the entire crowd kneeling and howling on the floor. Simon watched the absolute slaughter with a pale face, completely unable to believe his eyes. Wasn't this guy supposed to be a helpless loser? How did he become such a terrifying fighter? Guiding Chloe to a safe corner, you walked right over the groaning bodies of his guards, stepping up to your cousin. Seeing you stand there like an unstoppable force, all of Mia's bottled-up fear and trauma completely boiled over. Sobbing uncontrollably, she just kept repeating your name while trying to cover her torn clothes. Her arms and back were completely covered in dark bruises from the struggle, making your blood boil with absolute fury. You immediately took off your jacket to cover her up, your sheer rage now completely reaching its boiling point. Turning around, you launched an explosive flying kick straight into Simon's chest, blasting him all the way into the swimming pool. You quickly handed your trembling cousin over to Chloe. Then you dove right in, grabbing Simon's hair and repeatedly slamming his head underwater to drown his arrogant mouth. When another goon jumped in to save him, you kicked him away instantly. Look at that face, you looked like a literal demon from hell, leaving everyone present completely paralyzed with fear. Even Mia was stunned, unable to comprehend how the brother she thought was weak could be this powerful. Right as you were about to drown the bastard, a woman suddenly shrieked from the side, ordering you to stop. Warning that they already called the police, Simon's arrogant sister, Sarah, stepped forward. She had only come to check on her brother's wild party, never expecting to walk in on you absolutely destroying him. Without even asking what happened, she immediately called the cops, screaming that murder is a serious crime. As she kept shrieking threats, you did not stop for a single second, continuing to teach her brother a lesson. You had perfect control, knowing exactly when to stop, but poor Mia was still trembling in absolute terror. She desperately grabbed Chloe's arm, begging her to please make her cousin stop before it is too late. Sarah is absolutely terrifying with her army of powerful lawyers who will destroy him. But Chloe just shoots Sarah an icy sidelong look, crosses her arms, and speaks with total dominance, dismissing the entire Song family. They think they are actually worthy of touching him. If anyone dares to make trouble for you, she won't hesitate to wipe out their whole clan. Watching Chloe act so dominant makes Mia gasp for breath. She stares at Chloe's side profile, her mind suddenly spinning with a strange headache. It is so bizarre. Why does this sister's face look so familiar? It feels like she met her a very long time ago. Before Mia can even process this, the loud wail of police sirens echoes from outside. Right after you dislocated Simon's arm in the water, the police walk right in. Seeing them arrive this fast makes you frown a bit. Some annoying trouble is brewing, and you really do not want to blow this situation up. Out in the parking lot, the moment the little girls realize you went inside to save someone, they frantically rush over too. Little Puff presses against the car window. Seeing so many police officers heading inside makes her worry instantly. Did the bad guys call the cops to arrest our daddy? Luckily, their young uncle Leo White is not worried at all. Instead, he pats Puff's head, asking what she is worried about, since her demon queen mother is right in there. Even the police have to respect her power. So just relax, because absolutely nobody dares to hurt your daddy. Puff looks at her sisters, still feeling uneasy. But little Cherry moves fast, already pulling out her phone to call for help. She asks Grandpa Gordon for a favor, and hearing little Cherry's sweet voice, the old man on the line immediately laughs. He says he will arrange it right away, and asks how many men she needs for this little job. Little Cherry casually requests 1,000 men, a few helicopters, and some heavy weapons, all in her sweet, milky voice. Master Gordon freezes in shock for a second before laughing, wondering why his little baby needs an entire army. She innocently explains she is just worried her daddy is being bullied, so she needs backup to protect him. The old man's sweat drops, thinking to himself that this insane firepower is enough to level a whole family clan. He realizes some blind fool must have angered the yandere little demon boss when he finds out you are the target. Get this, he literally dispatches 50 helicopters, all because you stood up to protect your cousin Mia. You had broken the arm of Simon, the creep who tried to assault her, leading the police to take you in. The cops warn you not to clash with them head-on, but before you can reply, your father George's angry roar echoes outside. He screams about you being a useless animal who ruins everything, completely led there by Frank. Frank knows Sarah's awful temper, so he brought George along to add fuel to the fire, believing they can definitely send you to jail today. Please do not be angry. Holding George's arm, he plays the humble son, telling the officers his father is simply worried about his younger brother. He claims you always act so recklessly, constantly bringing endless worry and trouble to their entire family. Sighing heavily, he acts completely guilty, claiming it is his fault for not guiding his younger brother better. Hearing this, George feels even more heartbroken for Frank, complaining that Frank always shoulders your mistakes himself. Frank acts sweet, saying you are still his father's biological son no matter what. But George sighs and snaps that he wishes you were not his son, kicking open the interrogation room door. Finding you sitting lazily in a chair, his anger explodes as he calls you a completely rebellious, worthless son. He demands you stand up in his presence, but you just casually pick your ear, completely ignoring his rage. You calmly ask Mr. Zheng what he wants, which only makes him scream about your terrible attitude. He rants about how hard he worked to raise you, then furiously orders the police to tell the Song family the truth. Stating the Zhang family won't protect you, he demands you go straight to jail, stressing out Officer Zheng Yunfei. He leans in and whispers, "Can you believe this guy? Your own dad came here to lock you up, not help you." Asking if any real father acts like this, you just sneer coldly, reminding him that Frank is his favorite son. For 5 years, you have never called them mom or dad, and the Zhang family has long lost all meaning to you. Right then, Sarah walks in, bringing along the powerful and arrogant old matriarch of the Song family. Old Madam Song spoils her grandson rotten, and even though Simon's injuries are not fatal, she wants blood. She glares viciously at George, screaming that her grandson almost died while they are all just standing around wasting time. George knows he absolutely cannot afford to anger old Madam Song. Bowing subserviently, he begs her to calm down, insisting that Jack has absolutely nothing to do with their Zhang family anymore. "Don't worry, we'll put justice before family and throw him right behind bars." Old Madam Song nods reluctantly at this. Then she remembers what they mentioned about Chloe. Even though nobody knew Chloe's name, they saw her beauty, and knew Simon had his eyes on her. So the old lady sneers, declaring that since that cheap girl offered herself to her grandson for free, the Song family will take her back with them later. You laugh out of sheer anger. This interrogation is not even finished yet. Insulting you is one thing, but calling Chloe and Mia prostitutes crosses the line. You have zero proof of any crime, so you cannot decide our fate. You say this calmly, without fear. George glares, threatening to rip your tongue out if you do not shut up. The old lady is already shaking with rage. "Fine. Since you dare defy me, Sarah, call Arthur here immediately. Let's make sure this trash rots in prison for the rest of his life." Hearing the name Arthur, everyone in the room freezes. You simply narrow your eyes. "Arthur? That name sounds quite familiar." Seeing the silence, the old lady asks if you are terrified now. It is too late. Now she will make sure you rot. Even Sarah shoots you a smug, arrogant look. "How dare a worthless piece of trash lay a hand on my brother? You are begging for death." Outside, news of the old lady calling Arthur spreads instantly. Chloe, Mia, and the others hear it, making Simon's trashy friends look absolutely thrilled. They all glare at Chloe with evil eyes, laughing that she chose the wrong guy to back up. "You should just submit to me right now. Come over here, let's get cozy. Who knows, maybe I will actually protect you." Jack is just a fool who thought he could mess with Simon. He is doomed. Hearing this, Chloe's face darkens. She knows she cannot easily mess with Arthur, but you are her man, and she will never let anyone hurt you. This time, even if she has to burn through her entire family fortune, she is going to protect you. With that, Chloe quickly sends a text to Elder White. The old man, who is currently studying how to treat a son-in-law, instantly roars for everyone to dismiss. He orders every man in the family to grab their weapons and prepare for an all-out war with those bastards tonight. The guy his daughter chose is a true dragon among men. Daring to touch him? They just kicked a massive steel wall. Frank wants to see you suffer even more, so he slyly asks the old lady if there is really nobody who can control the Morong family. Sarah is feeling quite smug, so she happily replies that Arthur actually has a master who controls him. The entire Murong family has to kowtow to this master. She mockingly tells you to find him if you want to stay alive. Frank shakes his head, faking a guilty look as he laughs about how incredibly stupid he is to suggest that. You can't even leave this police station, so how could you ever find him? But you completely ignore their endless mocking. Suddenly, your phone vibrates with a new message, saying, "Master, your disciple will arrive in the capital in 10 minutes. Talk about a massive plot twist. You just casually tap the screen without showing any emotion. The reply is barely sent before George suddenly charges straight toward you, eyes blazing with anger. He snatches your phone away, slamming it onto the hard floor before pointing a finger directly at your face. He roars, asking why you are playing games right now. This annoying family bickering quickly makes the old lady lose her patience. She snaps, demanding they stop talking and wrap up the statement so they can throw Jack into a dark cell. Crossing her arms with a cold snort, she boasts that it does not matter who comes to the capital to help you today. It is totally useless. Knowing that Arthur is about to arrive, the old lady feels completely untouchable now. Meanwhile, Chloe looks at you, whispering that the White family will protect you with absolutely everything they have. Hearing this, Sarah flinches slightly. She quickly turns to the old lady, whispering if this girl could be Chloe White. Truth is, the old lady has already guessed Chloe's real identity, but she does not feel even a tiny bit of fear. She smiles, asking what the White family can possibly do since she has Arthur on her side. Right then, a loud, heavy knocking echoes through the room. Sarah fixes her hair and runs to the door, thrilled that Arthur is finally here. She begs him to back them up, declaring that Simon's problems are the Murong family's problems. Get ready, because here comes the clash. Arthur simply nods to the old lady, making Sarah look even more thrilled. She wraps her arm around Arthur's, pointing directly at you while yelling that you are the culprit. He is the one who hurt Simon, and he clearly wants to die. She commands you to step forward right now. Arthur snorts coldly behind you, asking if you want him to come over. You slowly turn around. The next second, the heavy thud of his knees hitting the floor echoes through the entire hall. Right after that, everyone else looks like they just saw a ghost. Sarah snaps back to reality, wondering why Arthur just knelt down. She rushes over to pull him up. Honestly, you cannot blame them for being completely shocked. See, the Murong family usually rules the capital. No joke, even their toilet cleaners get treated like royalty outside. Sarah turns her head, spots you standing there, and her face immediately twists in disgust. She glares with pure disgust, accusing you of using some hidden weapon on her brother Arthur. Who do you think you are to attack my brother? She sneers. But Arthur, eyes turning bloodshot at her venomous words, instantly cuts her off. Sarah Song, shut your mouth right now and get on your knees. Sarah stands there, completely dumbfounded. She looks back in disbelief, stuttering out to ask if he really wants her to kneel. But Arthur ignores her, turning directly to you. Now watch this. He slams his forehead down 3 times. Showing total, absolute respect, he begs, Master, your disciple has deeply offended you just now. Please punish me, Master. The second those words leave his mouth, the entire room goes as silent as a graveyard. Arthur snaps fiercely at Sarah to get down on her knees. Then, looking incredibly humble, he slowly shuffles closer to you. He offers to break his own arm to calm your anger, but you tell him no. You calmly explain that you only came tonight to get justice for your cousin. Watching your face, Arthur quickly agrees that you should not have to lift a finger. He only dares to stand up after you give him the nod. Pointing out how late it is, he suggests you head back to rest while he cleans up this mess. As he speaks, his cold gaze sweeps over old Madam Song and the other spoiled rich kids who started this trouble. Whether through lawsuits or backroom deals, he is about to destroy them completely. Naturally, you trust Arthur to handle this. Just as you go to speak, a sudden roaring noise echoes from directly above. Honestly, what is even happening here? Right over the police station, massive helicopter rotors are tearing through the night. Blinding searchlights beam down, crushing the area with raw pressure. Looking at this, the crowd outside panics, backing away and scrambling inside. There are just so many helicopters out there. It really looks like they are going to surround us. Are they really about to blow up a police station? Who has the balls to do that? Chief Jin Chongjong wants to scream. But looking back at Arthur and you, he realizes that if a bombing is coming, it is way beyond his pay grade. He forces a nervous smile and asks, Boss Jack, do you know who is out there? You calmly shake your head. You genuinely have no idea who in the military would be pulling a stunt this wild. At this point, Jin Chongjong looks ready to cry, pleading desperately as he points out that even Arthur is your student. He begs you to use your influence and just step outside to see what is going on. Glancing around, you see everyone staring directly at you. But Chloe gently tells you that you are not alone, she is right here. She nods, making a silent promise to protect you with her life, no matter who is waiting outside. As you lead Chloe, Mia, and the group outside, old Madam Song glares at your retreating backs and tells Sarah to go out there too. She tells her it would be best if she dies out there so nobody can blame their Song family anymore. The other rich kids are secretly hoping for the exact same thing, wishing for some terrifying power to show up outside. They want someone who will just end you, saving them from any punishment today. Right then, over a dozen heavily modified, bulletproof vehicles roll into the parking lot. Before they even stop, 4 little girls jump right out. Those usually adorable, sweet little babies now look like a pack of mini demon queens. Little Puff completely drops her sweet, obedient act. Raising her walkie-talkie toward the main gates, she coldly barks that Max has exactly 30 minutes. If their mommy and daddy do not walk out safely, they will level the entire building. Standing nearby, Leo White swallows hard, clutching his chest in sheer terror. Talk about an absolute family of monsters. At their age, these kids are fully ready to blow up a whole police station just for their dad. Meanwhile, little Grape grabs a megaphone, clears her throat, and screams inside for them to release her daddy within 30 minutes. He better not have a single scratch on him, she warns, or she will show them what real hell looks like. Just then, the heavy doors of the armored cars swing open. Elder White rushes over, hearing her wild threats. Frowning, he tells Grape that all this talk of violence is bad, asking why she has to make such extreme threats. Little Grape pouts, asking what else they can do if they do not use threats. But her grandpa just smiles. Let me teach you. Elder White puts on a dead serious face and tells her they must always act with gentleness, winning people over with pure virtue. The four little girls blink their huge, innocent eyes, looking like the sweetest, most obedient angels. But then, Elder White raises his hand to the more than 100 heavily armed mercenaries waiting right behind him, speaking with absolute gentleness. Charge in immediately, protect the son-in-law and the young misses, but wipe out everyone else. Leave absolutely no one alive. Leo White is totally dumbfounded. Wait. Grandpa, you call this gentle? This is winning people over with virtue? But watch this. Just as the armed men prepare to storm in, a few figures walk out. Hold on. The second Elder White realizes who is stepping out. He frantically raises his hand to halt the entire army. The little babies rub their eyes and look closely. Daddy is finally walking out. Instantly, little Puff tosses her walkie-talkie to the dirt, quickly fixes her face, and flashes the most adorable, sweet smile. Little Grape, who literally looked like a god of death a second ago, rubs her cheeks and instantly turns soft and sweet. Meanwhile, Little Cherry and Little Mochi quickly hide their heavy guns back inside the car and pull sweet lollipops out of their pockets. And Elder White, who was just about to show off his deadly virtue. Quick, hide, he nervously signals his men with his eyes. He straightens his collar, asking his family if he looks like a gentle, loving father-in-law. Leo White's mouth twitches, unable to hold back a roast. Seriously, who are you fooling with this sudden act? Instantly, a dozen elders glare right at him like sharp daggers. Wearing their warmest, gentlest smiles, they all start walking toward you with pure excitement. You and Chloe thought this army came to back up the Song family, but Elder White walks right up, his eyes turning red. Hello, son-in-law. I am your wife. No, wait, I am my daughter's son. No, I am my daughter's father. The more he talks, the more tongue-tied he gets in his excitement. Finally, he just shoves a car key right into your hand. Take this first, son-in-law. I bought this luxury car to honor you. Wait, no. Just take the gift, my son-in-law. I need to go calm down. With that, Elder White turns around and literally starts slapping his own face. Game over. This first meeting is a total mess. But watch how Madam White steps up. She's way calmer than her husband. She looks at you with a beaming smile, and her very first question is if you like eating fresh seafood. You ask in total confusion what she means. Madam White just narrows her eyes, smiling with absolute, endless warmth. If you like eating seafood, then I will buy you an Ocean View castle tomorrow, custom order a few yachts, and hire 30 to 50 professional chefs. A literal castle and yachts. Is this not a little too insanely rich? Seeing your shock, Leo White wipes his drool, grabs your shoulder, and whispers to his future uncle-in-law. My grandma is a major shipbuilding tycoon. You absolutely have to accept her gifts. Even if we do not eat seafood, taking bikini babes out for a spin is great too. What answers him is a loud smack. Bok Feng mercilessly slaps his son's head, warning him with a dark face not to corrupt his future uncle-in-law. Leo White cries dramatic anime tears, burying his face in your chest and begging for help. Bok Feng's wife quickly tugs at her husband's shirt, reminding him it is their first time meeting his brother-in-law. He needs to mind his image. Bei Feng quickly pulls out a massive stack of bank cards and presents them to you, saying hello. Introducing himself as Chloe's eldest brother and Leo's dad, Bok Feng asks which bank you want so he can buy it. You cough repeatedly, nearly choking to death on your own saliva. With the way the White family hands out gifts, you are totally lost. Left with zero options, you can only look back at Chloe, silently begging her to bail you out of this. Who knew Chloe would actually offer to hire a financial manager later? She says to just write down everything they give you. Meanwhile, the Song family members who followed you outside are standing there completely dumbfounded. Old Madam Song almost faints on the spot, needing support from the police officers just to stumble back inside and rest. Clearly, the police officers here have fully understood the crazy situation. The chief walks over, rubs his nose, and gives you a sycophantic smile. He asks if everyone can just disperse for today since nothing major really happened here. If this keeps going, his station will be trending tomorrow, and he will get in trouble. He begs you to save his face. Leo White speaks up, suggesting to his auntie, grandpa, and grandma that they should all retreat first. After all, his future uncle-in-law works in showbiz, and trending on social media would not be good for his career. Seeing you refuse to back down, Chloe silently signals the family elders. Within less than 10 minutes, the helicopters and the entire crowd surrounding the station completely vanish. The sheer efficiency of the White family leaves even the police officers completely stunned. Just as Elder White and his crew get into their cars, the mastermind behind this whole mess, Frank, finally steps out. He glares at you with a nasty smirk, muttering how it is no wonder you suddenly have such powerful backing. Watching from the car, Little Puff spots Frank, crosses her arms, and angrily asks her mommy if breaking one of his legs would cause trouble for her daddy. Chloe's expression turns quite cold as she explains that those kinds of extreme acts, like murder and arson, are not for children. She would handle those tasks herself. Outside, you glance at Frank and scoff, asking if he was actually talking to you. Talk about savage. Your completely dismissive attitude drives Frank absolutely insane. Losing all control, his voice turns shrill as he starts screaming that you are a total and absolute disgrace. He rants, asking if you really think you are safe just because the Whites protect you, warning you to stop being so incredibly smug. He sneers that their parents despise a loser like you. Linda is devoted to him, and he can easily take everything you own. You lazily hold up your phone, asking if he is still running for that Outstanding Youth Award. What a shame. You reveal your phone is currently live streaming. Hearing this, Frank instantly loses all his color, turning a ghastly shade of gray. With no other choice, he swallows his rage, turns on his heel, and slinks away. The next morning, the servants serve up mutton buns, rich soup, sea cucumbers, and fresh oysters, leaving you wondering if this is too heavy for breakfast. You stare at the feast, quite hesitant to even pick up your chopsticks. Only Leo White seems to get the joke, giggling quietly as Little Grape urges you to hurry up and eat the mutton buns. Little Grape holds up a small bun, insisting they are super delicious, but you still feel quite reluctant to eat something so heavy. Greasy food first thing in the morning is really not great for staying in shape. Noticing that you are not eating, Little Grape frowns, quickly takes a test bite, and seriously asks her mommy, Chloe, what they should do now. She claims she is just a kid who can't judge the taste, begging Chloe to try. Though confused by the scheme, Chloe plays along and takes a bite. It is pretty good. Hearing this, Little Grape trots over, snatches the bun from Chloe, and runs right back to place herself in front of you. Standing on her tiptoes, she holds the bitten bun up to your lips, telling you very seriously that since mommy tasted it, you must too. You stare at the bitten bun, completely stunned, while she asks if you dislike them, or her mommy, which is why you refuse to eat. Seeing Little Grape look so heartbroken instantly melts your heart, making it impossible to refuse. You quickly crouch down, take the small bun, and gently pat her head, telling Grape not to be sad. You promise to eat it immediately, taking a massive, honest bite of the bun right under her hopeful, wide-eyed gaze. She asks with absolute seriousness if it is yummy, and you nod, confirming. Little Grape holds her cheeks, spinning around happily in front of you before looking back at her sister, Little Puff. She tells her sister that Daddy said the bun mommy bit was delicious. Little Puff strokes her chin, acting like a serious adult as she nods in deep agreement. But since Daddy ate the bun mommy bit, does that mean he kissed her? Their teacher did say that when boys and girls kiss, they end up having a baby. Little Puff stares right at Chloe, happily clapping her hands to congratulate her mommy on the amazing news. She announces a new baby is coming, while Little Cherry and Little Mochi quickly station themselves on both sides of you. Little Cherry happily asks if you prefer a boy or a girl, wondering what kind of names you like best. She even promises to find a master to calculate their fortune, telling you not to worry. They promise to care for the new sibling, saying they have experience being babies. This literally makes you cough in disbelief. Choking on their serious faces, you quickly explain to the kids that kissing does not actually make anyone pregnant. Little Puff tilts her head with a deadpan look, asking how babies are actually made. Well, you have to sleep together, Leo explained, and her little face got even cuter. But if mommy and daddy slept together a bunch of times, are there tons of babies in her belly right now? Hearing this, Leo quickly slapped his hand over her mouth. After eating breakfast, you finally arrive at the film set. Director Watts and his crew are already discussing the big press launch. But the lead actress, Tiffany, is acting like a total diva, claiming her possessive boyfriend won't let her share any scenes with the male lead. One girl asks if she can just group up with the other female artists, and instantly, a bunch of girls on set nod and huddle together. You silently call them a bunch of idiots. But over on the side, Linda seems pretty distracted. She is stewing over Frank going out to fool around last night, even though he promised to behave. Why is he hanging out with those sugar mamas? She looks at you, and a shady plan starts forming. Faking an illness, she throws a heavy look your way and heads to the restroom. Someone tells you to go check on her. Seeing her look at you, the assistant director orders you to follow. Now, the whole set is staring. Tiffany sneers, asking if you still hold a grudge against your ex-girlfriend, and if that is why you are scared. Even if it were a total stranger who felt sick, you should show some concern, right? Honestly, what a petty grown man. Since she started it, the rest of the crew begins gossiping. Things are getting way too out of hand, so Director Watts steps in to play the role of peacemaker. He walks over and tells you to represent the crew by checking on her. Since the director himself is asking, you have to. You have no choice but to go find Linda. But you keep an ace up your sleeve, a recorder in your pocket. Wait for it. As you reach the dressing rooms, you hear wild noises. Inside, Linda is crying in front of the veteran actor, Larry. She begs Larry, calling herself so pitiful and pleading for just a little bit of affection. Her slender arms make Larry completely lose focus, staring blankly as she slides right into his warm embrace. She whispers, asking if he really dislikes her. Larry is quite hesitant since they are on set and someone might find out. Linda claims nobody would dare talk about him, because he is the most respected man here, before planting a deep kiss on him. Larry is the president of the Industry Acting Association. A huge deal. You normally do not care about eavesdropping, but knowing she is targeting Larry changes everything. This is your chance to record, because this supposedly righteous president secretly abuses his power over young college student extras. He finishes in under a minute. Honestly, pathetic. You do not stick around, quietly slipping away to head toward another dressing room instead. But suddenly, a furious woman storms onto the set with an entourage, loudly demanding to know where Larry is hiding. She screams for him to get out here. Her hair is messy, and she has got hungry reporters trailing right behind her. The press is eating this up because she is Quinn, Larry's wife, and the sole daughter of Xiang City's richest man. She used to be a massive international superstar, but retired to become a full-time housewife for Larry. She completely lost her own identity. Everyone envied Larry's incredible luck in getting her to submit to him, but nobody realized he had already driven Quinn to the absolute brink of madness. Actually, a hidden camera she secretly planted in Larry's quarters had just triggered a motion alert. It showed her husband fooling around with someone else, prompting her to march straight over. Recognizing her, Director Watts quickly steps up to placate her, asking what on earth brings her to the set. Quinn's eyes are bloodshot and she growls that she is looking for Larry. With that, she storms right toward the dressing room with her reporters, just as Linda walks out. Spotting Larry with his post-sex cigarette, Quinn lunges like a madwoman, grabbing his collar to demand who he was just in there with. Speak up, who is she? Larry looks guilty, eyes darting as he quickly stamps out his cigarette. He plays dumb, but Quinn reveals she installed a hidden tracker on his phone. She screams that he slept with someone in here. Larry is sweating bullets, but he knows he cannot admit to anything right now, no matter what. Look at this guy's nerve. In his panic, Larry spots you, and a highly malicious glint flashes in his eyes. He points a finger right at you, quickly telling Quinn that she has got it all wrong. He lies that the noise was actually Jack and Linda. Hearing this, Quinn calms down a bit, turning her gaze directly to you. She asks if it is true, and just as you pull out your recorder to prove your innocence, something stops you. Suddenly, Linda grabs your arm. Tears fill her eyes. She whispers in your ear that you must take the blame, otherwise Quinn's unborn baby will not survive the shock. She begs, saying you are a good man, who would never let a pitiful woman get hurt. Then she turns to Quinn, crying out that she and Jack grew up together and couldn't fight their feelings. She begs Quinn not to misunderstand Larry. Hearing this absolute nonsense, the veins on your forehead bulge. Look, Miss Quinn, I can easily prove I had nothing to do with this, you say calmly, but let's go somewhere else to talk. She is pregnant, so discussing this at a hospital makes the most sense, just in case she needs a doctor nearby. But right then, Larry secretly pushes Quinn. She falls straight toward a sharp table corner. The brutal impact hits her stomach hard, and almost in the blink of an eye, she begins bleeding heavily right there. You rush over to catch her, screaming at the crew to stop standing around doing nothing. Call an ambulance, you yell, but Larry suddenly shoves you aside to hug her tightly. He screams at you, calling you a bastard for pushing his wife and dragging her into this mess. You can only laugh from pure anger. Screw this, you were standing right there ready to explain everything to them. He literally pushed his own wife just to frame you. Can you believe the absolute nerve of this guy? You look at Director Watts, and suggests they stop talking and get Miss Quinn to the hospital immediately. Meanwhile, at the kindergarten, little Puff grabs her backpack with a chilly expression, ready to leave. But the teacher stops her, holding her hand to say, she must attend family day. Usually, Puff and her sisters skip these school events, finding them way too childish and boring. But the teacher pulls out a card, tempting her by calling it a special record of growing up with both her parents. The girls realize this is for their daddy, meaning they absolutely have to attend now. So the usually aloof little Puff nods, agreeing to bring both their mommy and daddy. Just as the teacher starts explaining the rules, Salmon suddenly rushes over in a complete panic to find little Puff. He whispers the news in her ear, and her chilly face turns into an absolute cosmic storm. Cherry, contact Brother Leo. We are heading to Capital First Hospital right now. She tosses her backpack to a bodyguard, radiating an overpowering boss aura as she marches right toward the gates. If we do not show our teeth, do they think we are kittens? Meanwhile, the bodyguards quickly report the emergency to Chloe. In the middle of an important meeting, she drops her papers immediately. This meeting ends right here. Go prepare the next plans. She storms out of the room. Now look at these girls as they reach the hospital entrance. Her sisters quickly pull out matching pink designer handdresses to change. Sen seriously changes inside the car before they all step out holding hands. Looking at the restless reporters nearby, Puff warns her sisters with a very serious face. Remember, around Daddy, we are sweet, well-behaved beauties. We must control ourselves. Little Grape is the first to nod, promising she won't blow the bad guys' heads off. I will just dislocate an arm. But Cherry shakes her head, calling that way too violent for Daddy. What is your plan then? Grape asks. Little Cherry rubs her chin, thinking it over. Grandpa said that if people leave us alone, we leave them alone. But if they cross us, we beat them so badly, their own mothers won't recognize them. So for these bad guys, of course, we should invite their mothers to watch. Then we can let them see if they can recognize them afterward. Mochi nods, calling that polite. Daddy definitely likes polite kids. Meanwhile, you and Director Watts are waiting in the hallway for news from the surgery room. Linda stands next to Larry, softly telling him not to worry. Your reputation is totally safe, she whispers. Absolutely nobody can do anything to us. She is reassuring him that he is completely safe since you have zero proof of his crime. You just sneer internally. The solid evidence in your hands is ready to be played at any moment. But unlike these heartless monsters, you actually have morals, and won't start a fight while Quinn is fighting for her life. Right then, the heavy doors swing open, as a pale-looking doctor steps out with a consent form. He says her condition is extremely critical. The baby is gone, and they likely have to remove her uterus to save her. He asks if they should try to save the child first, and see if they can save the adult later. Everyone turns to Larry, fully expecting him to choose his wife. But instead, the sick bastard says he finally got his wife pregnant in his 40s. He demands they save the baby, claiming he does not care what they do to her. Everyone present stares in absolute shock. Is this guy seriously insane? Did he not hear the doctor? They cannot even save the mother, so how can they save the baby? Mr. Lang, the situation looks incredibly grim. Unless you can find the nation's absolute best divine doctor clan right now, nobody can save your wife. The doctor had to be completely honest here. You must choose the mother, or your wife is definitely going to die. In reality, Larry wanted Quinn to die, so he could grab her massive fortune for himself. But he did not want to look like a monster, so he turned to you. Unleashing his best acting skills, he grabbed your collar, roaring that it was all your fault. It is you! You bastard! You killed my wife. If she dies, I will not survive either. Watching Larry pull this stunt, Linda sneered in secret. Larry was incredibly trashy, and he definitely would not let you off easy. Today would not end well for you. Yet, you only narrowed your eyes, completely calm. Even with Larry aggressively grabbing your collar, you are not stressed at all. Oh, you are going to love his reaction here, completely calm as he speaks. Your wife is not going to die. Just give me 5 minutes to make a single call. I have some powerful medical friends. Hearing this, Larry laughed in pure rage. Oh, so she will not die just because you say so? You are nothing but a worthless extra. Who could you possibly know? Can you summon the Divine Doctor sect itself? Larry sneered coldly. If you can actually find someone to cure my wife right now, I might forgive your little push. If you fail, I will make sure you die a very painful death. This heavy threat made Director Watts feel quite worried. He rushed over to pull you away from Larry, whispering that you should go find the White family princesses. They might actually help. But you just patted Director Watts on the shoulder and walked toward the stairwell. Right after you stepped away to call, your 4 precious little daughters stepped out of the elevator looking incredibly anxious. Little Puff scanned the hallway and stared at Director Watts with an incredibly serious face, asking where their daddy was. He went to call a doctor to save Quinn, Director Watts explained as quickly as he could. Hearing this, Little Puff nodded with massive confidence. If our daddy takes action, there is absolutely nothing he cannot do. Little Grape immediately agreed, saying their daddy is indeed the best in the world. Honestly, Linda had already found these 4 little girls super annoying last time. Seeing that you were not around, she walked straight over to mock the children with nasty sarcasm. Why are you kids even at a hospital? I know your daddy is dirt poor and terrified of paying Larry any compensation. So he brought you along to use as collateral in this emergency. How incredibly pathetic. You girls really did not pick the right life to be born into, ending up with a father like him. Hearing this, Little Puff's sweet face turned incredibly cold. But she turned to Director Watts, asking with a totally innocent face, why things were so strange. Why are there stray dogs barking inside the hospital? Won't that disturb the sick patients? The other 3 sisters instantly played along. Yeah, the poor patients are already suffering so much right now. They really should not be disturbed by some noisy dog. Little Grape quickly pulled out her tiny play phone. She wanted the dog catchers to come. Meanwhile, Little Cherry walked to a janitor, worried the dog would make a massive mess, begging the janitor to chase the dog away quickly, while Little Mochi adorably pinched her nose. Plus, it is a stray dog. So scary. Their dead serious act left the completely clueless janitor totally stunned for a good while. Now look at this. The entire hospital corridor goes completely silent for 2 whole seconds. Then Tiffany and her group couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing at how hilarious these kids were, almost believing a dog was there. What terrible karma for Linda to get called a dog by kids, especially with reporters nearby. If this leaks, Linda will trend tomorrow. Trend for being a dog. I am literally dying of laughter. She tried to bully the 4 little girls, but got a massive verbal slap in the face instead. Linda felt her face burning with utter humiliation. Glaring viciously at the 4 girls and cursing them in her head, she desperately signaled Larry with her eyes to start causing real trouble. And naturally, Larry caught on. He turned to the 4 girls, sneering that their father did terrible things and only knew how to brag. You should not be his daughters, and you definitely should not believe a single word he says. The 4 little girls crossed their arms, staring down Larry with absolute dissatisfaction without saying a single word. Anyone knowing these sisters knew that once they went silent, Sammy was in for massive trouble. Kids, everyone here is a witness. I gave your daddy so many chances, but he kept bullying me and my wife. I only fought back because I had to, not because I want to bully you. Larry paused there, letting out a nasty sneer. Hey kids, you better go run home and tell your mom to dump Jack so she can find some rich guy to actually support you. Grinning, as she thought of their mother, Linda rolled her eyes and sneered. They probably don't even have a mom, just some little mistakes he made. How pathetic to be stuck with a father like that so young. They kept mocking them, desperate to see these poor kids cry. Everyone watching thought this behavior was incredibly low and despicable. But Director Watts was already mentally praying for their souls. Total idiots. You have truly crossed the wrong crowd today. Outside, the moment Chloe stepped out of her car, Sun Mo handed her a tablet showing the live feed from the hospital cameras. That scumbag Larry is targeting the kids. Chloe stopped instantly, looking up toward the sky. Sun Mo shuddered. Wait. It is 40 degrees Celsius in the dead of summer, so why is it suddenly freezing? With eyes like absolute ice, Chloe quietly muttered that Larry can officially retire from the entertainment industry right now. Sun Mo gasped as the realization hit, nodding quickly. Consider it done. I will expose his dark secrets immediately. He will be ruined by tonight. Chloe nodded. Check if he broke any laws too. If he has, he can spend his life in prison. Back inside, you walked over right after hanging up your phone. Seeing your 4 little girls standing there, you were stunned. Sweethearts, what are you doing here? Instantly, the kids dropped their tough acts, raising their chubby little arms together to wave happily at you. Little Puff chirped that they came to back Daddy up, while Little Grape said not to worry, she can carry watermelons now. She is super strong. Anyone touching you gets smashed. Little Cherry added she just finished Wing Chun classes. He has a new bodyguard now. Meanwhile, Little Mochi stepped right in front of you, glaring at the crowd with absolute seriousness. Listen up, uncles and aunties, when we get angry, we are incredibly fierce. So do not try to bully our daddy, or you will regret it. Hearing this, Larry just burst into roaring laughter. Like father, like daughters, a fake show-off like you raises nothing but little brats who show off too. This is hilarious. Honestly, are you not completely embarrassed right now? If I were in your shoes, I would have hidden in shame years ago. Several of Larry's yes men joined in, laughing hysterically at you. Honestly, those 4 little brats are exactly like you, dirt poor but acting like royalty. Their mom must be some cheap bar hostess. Otherwise her kids would not be this stupid. Linda smirked, remembering the trash you associated with 5 years ago, knowing you could never have children with anyone respectable. By the way, did that little phone call of yours actually go through, or what? Stepping closer, Larry dropped his smile as his voice turned dangerously dark. My wife is currently fighting for her life. If the doctor you called does not show, you pay with your life. Right then, the elevator chimed. Out stepped an incredibly handsome guy wearing ripped jeans and a tank top, casually chewing on a popsicle like some rebellious punk. Several young nurses immediately stared at him with hearts in their eyes. Calmly, you stepped forward and greeted him. Hey there, old seven, long time no see. Instantly, Dr. Ben spotted the 4 little girls behind you, his eyes sparkling. Look at these cute little angels, you actually hid 4 of them. But as he walked over, Larry blocked his path. Who are you? Did Jack seriously ask a punk to operate on my wife? Larry demanded, face darkening. Dr. Ben ignored Larry, simply asking you if the patient was in the room. You nodded. This set Larry off completely. Gritting his teeth, he snarled that you brought absolute trash to save his dying wife. Just look at his clothes. Your expression turned cold and your voice dropped heavy. So, a bad outfit means he cannot be a doctor. What brilliant logic. Larry, you keep blocking us. Do you want her dead? Are you terrified she might actually survive? Larry stammered, telling you to stop lying because he loves his wife deeply. Larry was furious because you saw right through him. Secretly, he desperately wanted Quinn to die during the surgery. Thinking fast, he shot a quick, sharp look at his assistant behind him. Getting the message, the assistant rushed toward the operating room, intending to physically drag the doctors out. He screamed dramatically to throw them out because they are trying to murder Quinn. Then, he spun around and roared directly at you. You have some nerve bringing in these shady street punks. You will definitely be hearing from my lawyers. Your eyes flashed with absolute frost as you watched him jump up and down. Show some respect. He is the young master of the Divine Doctor sect. The second those words leave your mouth, Larry is the first to burst out laughing. He sneers that someone from the legendary Divine Doctor sect would never dress like that, or know you. The crowd laughs along, thinking Jack was just a fake. But right then, Little Puff steps up, warning them never to doubt her amazing daddy. She crosses her tiny arms, glaring at the crowd with absolute, adorable fury. Dr. Ben watches her defend Jack, and smiles. Not bad at all, his bro's kid is fantastic. She is incredibly cute and fiercely loyal. You pat her head to calm her down, then look back at the hospital doctor with a smug grin. You ask him straight up, go ahead, is he really from your sect? Since every top director here, trained under the Divine Doctor sect, they would instantly recognize their own young master. That is exactly why you asked him. The local doctor, completely puzzled a second ago, now stares at Dr. Ben with wide eyes. He quickly bows down, kissing up to him immediately. Young master. Welcome to our hospital. It is an absolute honor. Talk about an absolute reality check. Larry stumbles back, his face turning pale as he stares at you with pure, unfiltered terror. How is this even possible? How could a nobody like Jack connect with the Divine Doctor sect? But Dr. Ben ignores him, calmly stating that he understands the emergency. Get the blood plasma ready, I can save both the mother and the baby. That is completely impossible, Larry blurts out before quickly covering his mouth. Dr. Ben gives him a freezing glare, then tells you the surgery will take 2 hours. He suggests you take the kids to the lounge to wait, and you nod. When you thank him, Ben scoffs. If you had not refused to study medicine, you would be running the entire sect by now. He admits with a sigh that if he had your genius brain, his master wouldn't beat him daily. With that, he heads off with the medical staff to prep for the operation. As Dr. Ben disappears into the operating room, Larry stands frozen, feeling like he is trapped in a nightmare. The surrounding crowd slowly begins to snap out of their daze too. Larry is totally panicking, but he refuses to lose. Catching sight of Linda nearby, another twisted, evil scheme pops into his head. He sneers, warning you that no matter your connections, your scandalous affair with Linda will go viral and ruin you tomorrow. Oh, get ready because of freezing. Sharp voice suddenly cuts in. The crowd goes dead silent, turning to see Chloe White walking in, which instantly makes Larry breathe a sigh of relief. He rushes over to her, playing the victim, Miss White. Thank goodness you are finally here. That bastard Jack almost killed my wife. So please help me blacklist him and expose his dirty scandal to ruin his life. Who are you calling a bastard? Chloe demands, her expression turning colder than ice. Clueless as always, Larry thinks the White family is tight with the Chi family, so Chloe will naturally take his side to help Quinn. He figures if he just exaggerates the drama, she will destroy Jack for him. You stand speechless, never expecting Chloe to show up, especially right in the middle of this ridiculous, messy scandal. Feeling awkward, you brace yourself and walk over to explain that there is a misunderstanding and you can prove your innocence. Chloe stays deadpan. She trusts you completely, but these fools are practically begging for a death sentence. Seeing you actually have the guts to speak to Chloe makes Larry lose his mind. He shoves past, snapping at you to stop trying to seduce Miss White with your face. He claims she would never fall for you, making Sunmo roll his eyes and scoff inwardly. Seriously, with a face like that. It is a miracle he is married. And besides, who is he to assume their boss would not love Jack's looks? Meanwhile, Larry keeps rambling on, trying to look devoted, and even starts squeezing out fake tears. He begs Miss White to see how much he loves Quinn, especially now when she might not survive the surgery. If she dies, he claims he does not want to live another second without her. He secretly peeks through his fingers to see if she buys his act. He thinks his devoted husband act will move any woman, but Chloe just looks at him like he is trash and tells him to go ahead and die. She tells him to donate his organs, leaving Larry completely frozen as he points to himself. He stammers, asking if she actually meant him, unable to understand why Chloe White would tell such a loving husband to end it. Everyone else was completely frozen in shock. After all, anyone who actually knew anything was well aware that the White and Chi families were pretty close. Was not Chloe supposed to back Larry up no matter what? Wait, maybe she wants Jack to die. Connecting the dots in his own head, Larry spins back to you. Furious. How can you be so blind? Miss White literally ordered your death. Why are you still standing there? Your mouth twitches, staring at Larry like he is a total idiot. At this point, Sun Mo, the assistant, cannot even bear to watch this train wreck. He steps up and tells Larry he has got it all wrong. Our boss actually meant she wants a trash bag like you to drop dead. Hearing that, Larry completely freezes. Once his brain starts working again, his face turns pale, white as a ghost. He looks at Chloe, trembling and asking, Miss White, you must be joking, right? But Chloe completely ignores Larry, keeping her eyes locked on you. She knows reporters are watching and wants to protect you from a massive public scandal. So she puts on this cold, distant tone and asks if you really have a way to prove your claims. Seeing their mom treat you so coldly, the four little girls get immediately upset. Little Puff even glares at her own mother. She opens her mouth to protest, but Linda suddenly cuts her off. Posing to show off her curves, Linda steps up to question her, are you even the real Miss White? Linda remembers seeing Chloe literally leaning all over you earlier. There is no way this could be the powerful head of the White family. Instantly, Linda decides Chloe is just some hired actress brought in to scam them. Spit it out, how much did he pay you to play Miss White? Linda yells. Chloe doesn't even get mad, she just laughs. That cold smile makes her look incredibly dangerous. Honestly, you just know Linda is about to regret every single life choice here. Offended, Linda tries to strike her. But Chloe is absolutely not going to take that. She lunges forward, grabbing Linda's arm. Snap! The girl screams in agony before instantly passing out. Everyone watches in horror as Chloe dusts off her hands, telling Sun Mo to get the girl to a doctor. And if they mess up the bone, that is perfectly fine too. Sun Mo almost drops to his knees. Watching this, Larry unconsciously rubs his arm. He cannot touch Chloe, but he can target you. So he openly threatens you right there. We are in the same business, so you know exactly how this works. Larry is clearly trying to intimidate you here. He is nothing but a low-class bully in showbiz. Pure trash, and thugs like him have zero standards. Yet, you stay completely unfazed, staring right. Grinning wickedly, Larry acts like a big bad wolf pulling all the strings. He tells the kids to convince their dad because he needs him, and little Puff nods seriously. She promises to talk to her dad, making Larry nod happily, thinking this little girl is actually pretty reasonable. He thinks daughters are just sweeter and more obedient. But the next second, she gently tugs on your pant leg. In her sweetest, most innocent voice, she says she doesn't want her daddy's hands to get hurt. Instead, you should just grab that fire extinguisher and bash him, since he relies on his face for showbiz anyway. Just aim right for his nose and smash his face in. Don't worry about scaring us, we practically have degrees in being terrified. No matter how bloody it gets, we aren't scared. Larry's eyes literally bug out. Wait a minute, he wanted this kid to convince you to compromise. Since when is this considered persuading? What kind of kid suggests a brutal beatdown right off the bat? What on earth is in her head, with that scary violent vibe? How could this be? Larry looks at Chloe, but then shakes his head, telling himself it's completely impossible. Rich families only care about status. You have nothing, and Chloe isn't that stupid. As Larry is overthinking, he notices little Mochi pulling a projector out of her tiny backpack with incredibly professional moves. She powers it up, slides on some detective glasses, and looks at her dad with incredibly serious, professional focus. If you have any evidence, just give it to me to play for all these uncles and aunties around us. They will absolutely love it. Larry's heart skips a beat. How does a kid even know how to use a projector to blast gossip like this? But what completely blew his mind was Little Grape. This super soft and sweet little cutie actually pulled red envelopes out of her backpack. Then she marched right up to the reporters, handing them out while calling them uncles and aunties in the most adorable voice ever. She called herself a little gossip expert, promising them a guaranteed headline if they followed her. Larry was left totally dumbfounded. How old is this kid anyway? She already understands the unwritten rules of showbiz, even handing out red envelopes. The reporters figured Little Grape was just handing them trading cards or some cute toy in those envelopes. But when one actually opened it, they found a literal check waiting for them inside. Every single check held $88,888. Talk about stunned. Little Grape crossed her arms, acting smugly and telling everyone to stay calm. She explained that to her dad, this was just pocket change. If they refused, it meant they were disrespecting them. They would be heartbroken and curse everyone to work 29 days a month, only finding seasoning packets in their instant noodles. Hearing this adorable little threat, the reporters completely melted inside. Nobody could say no to her. Little Grape turned around, winked, and told you it was finally time to spill the tea. And check this out. Her cute tactics had won you over, so you handed the recorder to Little Cherry. But before she hit play, you warned the kids very seriously. Since this audio was not safe for kids, they needed to cover their ears. Instantly, all 4 girls nodded in agreement. They promised to block it out, but the public and the fans online absolutely had to hear the truth. Standing nearby, Chloe had already seen right through her daughter's clever little routine. Before Little Cherry pressed play, Chloe hooked the recorder up to the projector sound system. Then, right as the elevator doors opened, she hit play. Having no clue what was on that audio device, Larry started panicking even more. He shook with rage, threatening that if there was anything bad about him on it, he would end you right then and there. Suddenly, a deep, sharp voice boomed out. Who exactly do you think is going to make someone die? When Larry spun around, he was so terrified his soul almost left his body, making him instantly forget his threats. He instantly put on a fake, sycophantic smile to welcome his father-in-law. He babbled that Quinn was in surgery, and he was just trying to catch her attacker, begging the old man to believe he loved her. Then slap! Elder Chi did not hesitate. He slapped Larry hard, then turned and told Chloe not to worry. He urged her to play the audio, promising that he would never blame an innocent person, but he would absolutely crush a villain. That made Larry's legs shake violently. Chloe exchanged a knowing look with you, and immediately pressed play on the recording device. You quickly gestured to Sun Mo and the crew to cover the little girl's ears first. Seconds later, the voices of a man and a woman echoed down the hallway. A woman's voice praised Larry's skills, and he responded by telling her he was going to hold her even tighter, as she begged him to. Both voices were crystal clear, making it completely obvious to everyone who was having an illicit affair behind their partner's back. The reporters quickly pocketed their heavy red envelopes before doing anything else. Honestly, you can't make this up. They stared at Larry. Nobody expected this righteous gentleman to be a total fraud. The famous model husband was caught red-handed. As the reporters started whispering, cold sweat began pouring down Larry's pale face. He glared at you, muttering that you really did it this time. He threatened to expose your secrets in revenge, but before he could finish, Elder Chi stepped up and slapped him hard across his face. Elder Chi was shaking with absolute fury, calling Larry a worthless, ungrateful bastard. How could he cheat on his daughter while she was pregnant with his child? Larry desperately begged the old man to calm down. He argued that Quinn was still in surgery, and she would be devastated if her husband was not there when she woke up. He quietly added that they should not be airing their dirty family laundry in public. Larry assumed the Chi family cared too much about their reputation to make a scene, but Elder Chi simply turned to look at Chloe. Chloe looked at Larry with ice-cold eyes, demanding that he retire from showbiz immediately and divorce her sister Quinn, break both his legs, then dump him in Ethiopia. Larry turned pale with fear. If anyone else suggested this, the old man might hesitate, but Chloe was a completely different story. Because she was different, Larry lost his nerve and stopped acting tough. Dropping to his knees with a loud thud, he begged for your forgiveness right away. He admitted his affair with Linda and agreed to quit the film, begging you to ask Miss White to spare his life. He promised to do whatever it takes. You stepped back and looked at the reporters, prompting Larry to turn toward them immediately. Under the flashing cameras of the reporters, a shaking Larry confesses that the audio is real and he was sleeping with Linda. He begs everyone not to blame Jack, but Chloe immediately cuts in, demanding to know why Quinn lost her baby. She warns him to explain right now or the next thing he loses will be his manhood. That brutal threat sends a cold shiver through every guy in the room, while Larry just stutters, completely unable to speak. Elder Chi finally sees the whole truth. This trash actually wanted to watch Quinn die. The pathetic husband tries to make excuses, babbling about what happened back then, but he cannot even finish a single coherent thought. At this point, the old man refuses to believe another single word from this snake. Just then, the surgery doors swing open, and Dr. Ben rolls Quinn out on a hospital bed with his team. Quinn is awake and safe, looking quite pale, but Larry immediately begs her to save him because her father is going to kill him. Unbelievable. This guy does not care about his wife's health at all, only his own pathetic skin. Meanwhile, Jack stands to the side and asks Dr. Ben if the treatment went smoothly, who smiles and says it was a total success. Dr. Ben smiles, assuring them she will have no problem having kids in the future, prompting a very relieved Quinn to tell Elder Chi that she owes Jack a massive, life-saving favor. She wants her family to repay Jack. As for her trash husband, she demands a divorce. Her father nods, promising to handle it, before turning his sharp gaze toward the waiting reporters. He invites them all to the lobby to witness the drama, ready to humiliate Larry publicly. And since the situation is under control, Chloe decides it is time to leave the family drama behind, turning to Jack with a soft smile and suggesting they head out. Jack nods, and once they step outside, Dr. Ben immediately resumes his playful, punkish attitude. He throws his arm around Jack's shoulder, teasingly asking when he and Chloe White hooked up without letting his best friend know. He jokes about arriving empty-handed with no gift for his new sister-in-law, leaving Jack completely speechless at his stupidity. Jack wishes his friend would watch his mouth, but Chloe is actually secretly thrilled to be called sister-in-law. She glances at her assistant son Mo while pulling out a bank card, and he instantly catches his boss's drift. Bowing respectfully, he hands the card to Dr. Ben, mentioning they heard the Divine Doctor sect is looking for big investors for their relief project. This is their sincere gift, Sun Mo explains, making Dr. Ben's eyes completely light up. Grinning, he thanks Chloe, and jokes that since words cannot repay her kindness, he will just have Jack offer himself in marriage. He shoves Jack toward her, telling her not to hold back and to devour him however she likes. He jokes about Jack's legendary stamina, leaving him completely speechless. Honestly, with best friends like this, who even needs enemies? Chloe tries her best to act cool, but her face is secretly burning hot with embarrassment. Dr. Ben keeps going, pretending to read Jack's fortune, and claiming that 5 years ago, he calculated his friend's destiny. He boasts that Jack has a legendary physique capable of producing multiple kids at once, meaning he should have 4 children by now. 4 kids? Chloe and the 4 little girls all stare directly at Jack, making him break a nervous sweat. Jack grabs the doctor's shoulder, telling him to shut up, but Dr. Ben just rubs his chin quite seriously. He insists he is not lying, explaining that his very first prediction when leaving the mountains showed Jack would have 4 children, and they would be somewhere in the capital surrounded by lush greenery. With that, he gives Chloe a sneaky grin, suggesting that with her massive power and connections, she should help search for these missing kids. He wonders if any club hostesses suddenly had babies 4 or 5 years back, who might be Jack's biological kids. If they are Jack's real flesh and blood, it would be a good deed. But hearing this, the 4 little girls immediately pout in anger. Furious. Absolutely furious. They cross their tiny arms in a neat little row. Dr. Ben is pretty good at reading the room, quickly noticing their angry little faces and asking why they are so upset. Little Puff blows out her cheeks like an angry cartoon, proudly stating that they are Daddy's real children. Little Grape nods along, adding that Daddy does not have other kids because he belongs to them. The doctor did not expect them to be so incredibly possessive, but it is too cute, so he kneels down to gently pat their heads. He surrenders, telling them they are definitely Jack's daughters and asking them to forget everything he just muttered. Little Puff firmly declares they are completely genuine, warning their uncle not to treat them with such a dismissive attitude. She makes sure he knows they are not easily fooled, making Dr. Ben smile as he looks up at Jack. He jokes that these kids are quite a handful, but right in the middle of their talk, Little Mochi's stomach lets out a loud growl. The usually somewhat aloof Little Mochi was instantly dying of pure embarrassment, holding her tiny rumbling tummy as her cheeks flushed bright red. Would her dad think she was just a high-maintenance glutton? Knowing the kids must be starving by now, you quickly shot a meaningful look over to Dr. Ben quickly scooped Little Mochi up, telling her he was hungry too and they should eat together, which you gently agreed to. Little Mochi obediently rested her head on your shoulder, whispering that she loved her daddy the absolute most. He really knew how to make girls happy. So the entire group decided it was finally time to go grab some food. Dr. Ben was so fascinated by the 4 little girls that he practically forced his way into their dinner plans. Along the way, Jack actually took a bunch of photos of those little girls and sent them directly to the sect chat. Instantly, the whole Divine Doctor sect went wild over those 4 cuties. No way. Eldest sister, did you see this? Bianji burst excitedly into Bien Yumu's room holding her phone, just as her eldest sister was staring at those exact photos. But check this out, while they were cute, Those photos reminded her of a crazy prophecy their master once made. She turned to her junior sister and asked, "Remember when Master talked about his destined romantic tribulation, and how 4 phoenix stars would appear to guide him?" "Eldest sister, you cannot be serious. Are those toddlers supposed to be his phoenix stars? They are babies, how is that even possible?" Bian Yuran completely doubted it, figuring her eldest sister was just hoping for a miracle to help Jack out. But Bian Yimu just smiled and shook her head, saying greatness has no age. Besides, it is time for Jack to settle his scores. Mentioning those people made Bian Yuran freeze. Total silence. For years, Jack had been holding back his wrath. They knew it too, and they hated seeing him suffer. "Sister, it is time to descend the mountain." That day in the villa, a phone call rings. The second you answer, your father George's furious voice comes blasting through. "You sneer what? Does Mr. Zhang actually need something?" George absolutely hates your casual tone, like you two are complete strangers. He snaps that tomorrow is his birthday and asks what your plans are. "Oh right, Mr. Zhang's birthday. Then why not let your golden son Frank throw the party? What do you even need me for? To burn funeral paper money?" That completely sets George off. He yells that you are a rebel and wonders how he ever raised a son like you. Honestly, you coldly shoot back that you do not want to be Mr. Zhang's son either, and you have zero interest in his birthday party. But George refuses to let it go. He demands to know what you are doing if you will not even attend your own father's banquet. With a sharp click, George slams down the phone. But after thinking it over, you realize company shares are on the line, so you have to go. Late at night in Chloe's study, Leo White creeps inside with the 4 little girls. Look at them. 1 adult and 4 kids lined up, barely even daring to breathe. Chloe slowly looks up, giving them a cold glance. She asks why they are up so late, instead of sleeping. Little Puff points right at Leo White, complaining that brother Leo seriously wants to go steal manhole covers. Chloe is completely speechless. She puts down her documents, locks her fingers together, and tells them lazily they have 3 minutes. If they can't explain clearly, they can get out. "See, I told you your mommy was super fierce." Little Puff pouts, explaining that Daddy is heading to the Zhang family's birthday banquet tomorrow and they need to go back. To back Daddy up. Chloe just glances calmly at her anxious daughter, telling her there is no rush. But Little Puff gets even more anxious, telling Mommy she needs to protect her own husband. "Yeah, if they bully your husband, they are bullying you," Little Grape chimes in, fanning the flames. Little Cherry adds that nobody messes with the White family, they need to destroy them. This makes Leo White frown. These kids are constantly talking about violence and revenge. It is honestly pretty terrifying. Thank goodness, Auntie Kaman is sensible and won't go along with their wild ideas. But then, Chloe casually mentions that 2 mercenary units are already stationed at their villa, so there is no need to worry. Leo White subconsciously gulps down a mouthful of spit. The real ruthless monster is standing right here. "Auntie, those 2 units of yours aren't just ordinary mercenaries, are they? I bet if they actually make a move, there won't even be dust left of the Zhang family." Cut to 7 p.m. Outside the Zhang family's Purple Jade Manor, a servant happily announces that Mia has brought young Master Jack back home. Hearing this, George glares fiercely at the servant, growling in anger. The Zhang family only has 1 young master, Frank. Nobody else is worthy of that title. Stunned, the servant lowers their head, whispering a quick "Yes, master." She was dead wrong. Susan did not care what her husband thought the moment she heard you arrived, storming outside in a fury. Pointing a finger the second she saw you, she cursed and demanded to know who allowed this trash inside tonight. Susan glared, angrily demanding if you even realized how low your status was. Looking at your own biological mother, you felt absolutely nothing. Susan grumbled, demanding if Jack was mute since you would not answer. You calmly stated Mr. Zhang invited you. Susan snapped that it was impossible since your dad wanted you dead. Why would he let you in? Susan refused to believe it, convinced you were just a thick-skinned parasite crashing the party. Without another word, she turned to her bodyguards and barked orders to stop standing around and throw this trash out immediately. Right then, a commanding voice boomed to halt them, declaring that Jack was his grandson, invited to the Zhang family banquet. It was Elder Zhang. Once he showed up, Susan did not dare to cause any more trouble. Seeing the old man look at you with nothing but warmth and pride, you felt a rare wave of emotion. Holding his arm, you softly apologized for making him worry, but he insisted it was all his own fault. He sighed that his poor health had kept him from protecting you within the Young family, but told you not to fear. This night, he promised to announce your status as heir, crowning you the true young master of the Zhang family. Meanwhile, inside the extended Lincoln, Little Puff tilted her head and asked Chloe why she came since she was supposedly working overtime tonight. Why could she not resist coming over here anyway? Chloe kept a perfectly blank face, glancing up at Leo White who was driving. She claimed Leo just wanted cake, so she tagged along. Leo White blinked, pointing innocently at himself. Meanwhile, the old man had pulled you inside, continuously introducing you to the eldest daughters of various elite families. Look at this. Right then, the grand banquet doors fly open, leading the way inside. Little Puff quickly scanned the entire room. Her eyes locked right onto your hand, which was holding Sylvia's hand. Suddenly, the little girl froze dead in her tracks. Clutching her chest, she looked back pitifully at her mother, whining that she had just come down with sour poisoning. Leo White in the back was confused, asking what sour poisoning even meant. Little Puff blinked, pointing at you gloomily. She muttered that a very cold girl was holding Daddy's hand, even though his hands are so nice to hold. Little Grape's eyes instantly welled with tears, crying out that Daddy belonged to their mommy too. Little Cherry did some quick mental math, warning her mother that Daddy was facing a massive romantic entanglement, putting Mommy in real danger. But little Mochi just stared at her sisters and shook her head. She did not look worried at all, pointing out that their parents were legally married. No matter how pretty that woman was, without Mommy's permission, she was just a mistress. Hearing this, Leo White practically choked to death on his own spit. Then, little Mochi seriously added that Daddy obviously could not make a move himself. But if those women misbehaved, she would treat them like historical concubines and sell them off, just like in the old records. They could even be used to entertain guests when company arrived. Daddy was too busy with work to deal with these women trying to sneak in, but she had barely any homework and plenty of free time. She could easily sell them off. Leo White's face twitched, wondering if this quiet little girl was actually the most terrifying one of all. While the girls chatted, Chloe appeared calm, but her icy stare could have frozen the entire room solid. Here we go. She coldly ordered Leo White to announce their arrival, and he nervously stepped onto the red carpet. Instantly, several rich men near the entrance recognized him, whispering if that was young Master Leo. They gasped that the hosts had immense influence if even young Master Leo of the White family attended. Guests also wondered why the woman beside him looked so familiar. As they whispered, they drew everyone's attention, especially Frank, who felt incredibly powerful today. With the White family showing up, he could finally brag to everyone that he had their massive backing from now on. George snapped out of his shock, grabbing Frank's arm to eagerly ask if the prestigious White family had come specifically for him. Frank scratched his head, grinning. He claimed he did not know either. Meanwhile, you had just released Sylvia's hand when you noticed Leo walking straight towards you. Confident as ever, Frank adjusted his collar and strutted toward Leo, trying to look as elegant and poised as possible. Greeting Leo. He reached out his hand, only to get it smacked away instantly. Leo White swiped his hand aside in disgust, touching his earring with total revulsion, muttering if he had any brain cells at all. Hey, didn't anyone teach you that good dogs don't block the path? I absolutely despise guys like you. Right then, Frank realized his pride was hurt way worse than his hand. Staring at Leo White in total disbelief, he stammers, Leo, what is this? But Leo snaps back, who said you can call me that? How annoying, Leo White mutters, shaking his head. He completely ignores the guy's twitching face and walks right up to you. Before the stunned crowd, he hugs you and happily apologizes. Sorry, idol. I planned to come alone, but my auntie's car broke down. Since the 4 little babies were starving, I just had to bring them with me. You don't mind that I crashed your party with a whole crew, do you? After that, he leans in closer, lowering his voice so only you can hear his next words. Auntie was worried they'd bully you, so she sent us as backup. Just play along, all right? Elder Jang finally snaps out of his shock, asking if Leo is good friends with Jack. Leo glances around, slowly dragging out his response. Of course, that's completely impossible. The tension during that long, painful silence? Absolutely wild. George gets a sudden burst of confidence, glaring at you before saying, see? Master Leo won't even admit he knows you. You're just making a fool of yourself. Hearing this, Leo snorts, throws an arm over your shoulder, and grins at Elder Jang. No way, Jack is my actual idol. Elder Jang breathes a massive sigh of relief. He whirls to George, scoffing, is this how you treat your own son? You don't trust his talent and keep putting him down in public. George honestly never expected Leo White to trick him with a pause like that. He glares at you with sharp, icy eyes, completely skipping any praise just to criticize you instead. You really are something, hiding this from us. Are you just trying to enjoy a lavish life all by yourself? How can you be so incredibly selfish? The rest of the crowd quickly jumps on the bandwagon, backing George up to guilt trip you. Exactly. Keeping secrets from your own father is just flat out selfish. You just laugh in pure frustration. Before you can rip into George and these rich hypocrites, the 4 little girls step up. They blink their massive, innocent eyes, looking completely harmless to everyone. Little Puff addresses George first, asking if it's his birthday. Knowing she's from the powerful white family, George immediately sucks up with a fake grin. Yes, it is, little sweetie. Aren't you just precious? Are you here to wish Grandpa a happy birthday? But Little Puff rubs her chin, acting incredibly thoughtful. Then she sweetly says, I just wanted to tell you a little story. Old Grandpa. About this guy I know who lived to be over 120. He actually looks younger than you do. Old Grandpa, do you want to know his special secret for that? Thinking this kid is way too innocent to say anything bad, George kneels down with a warm, gentle smile. Tell Grandpa his secret, sweetie, Little Puff whispers in her tiny voice. His big secret is that whenever it rains, he never goes outside. George asks, why is that? Smiling like a sneaky little fox, she giggles, because he'll get struck by lightning. He is totally brainless just like you, old Grandpa. Your heart is bad, and you always bully your son, so you fear karma. Terrified of getting hit by a car, getting struck by lightning in the rain, or even choking on water when he drinks. So, he literally had to buy himself a giant turtle shell and hide inside to survive a long life. George is absolutely losing his mind, but wait, there's more. Little Cherry steps right up next. She counts seriously on her fingers to calculate his fortune, then looks up at him. Grandpa, your future looks dark because of your wicked soul. Soon, your face will twist up, and you'll wear a giant green hat. She giggles, but if you want to turn your terrible luck around, I can help. Since you're related to Uncle Jack, I'll waive the fee and give you a double dose for free. Already fuming from Little Puff, George practically boils over seeing Little Cherry. He immediately snaps back, saying he doesn't need it. Absolutely not. At my age, I don't need charity or gifts from a little kid. Rejecting a kid's gift means getting styes in your eyes and struck by 5 lightning bolts. She beams, her eyes curving like cute crescent moons. While George scrambles for an excuse to turn her down, over a dozen heavy bodyguards suddenly march through the front doors. They hold several giant boxes. George squints, while you look down at Little Cherry. She flashes you a sweetheart sign, blinks, and Adorable commands her crew to hurry up. Give 1 pack to this old grandpa, 1 for that uncle, and another for this grandma over here. At that, the guards followed Little Cherry's orders, setting the 3 boxes down right in front of George, Frank, and Susan. Snapping on black gloves, they cautiously popped the lids open. Naturally, everyone in the room was dying to see what was inside, but the moment they saw the contents, they froze. George's close friends looked completely embarrassed, their faces turning a whole mix of awkward colors, while the people who wanted to see them get humiliated had to bite their tongues, desperately trying not to explode into loud laughter right there. Watching the crowd react, Little Cherry smugly tells George that her sister already warned him. She explains that people like them need turtle shells to avoid getting struck by lightning, so they can live a long life like total cowards. Naturally, they prepared 3 shells for the 3 biggest turtles in the room. Once Little Cherry finishes speaking, Little Puff steps forward. With big, innocent eyes, she sweetly asks if George is going to reject their cheap little gifts and break their hearts. She warns him that rejection leaves her no choice, turning George's face a furious shade of purple and green, like a messy paint palette. He never in a million years expected to get absolutely roasted by 2 tiny girls, let alone have them gift him literal turtle shells. They are calling him a coward to his face in front of everyone. Talk about ultimate public humiliation. Seriously, what kind of parenting is going on in the White family to raise kids like this? George feels incredibly wronged by the whole setup, but his hands are completely tied. Looking around, he sees his fake friends desperately choking back their laughter. At this point, he just has to suck it up and take the hit. Admitting her daughters are a bit mischievous, Chloe finally decides to step forward. Knowing the girls did their job of driving George crazy, she tries to smooth things over, telling Mr. Jang they were only joking and inviting him to speak his mind. Though she adds that she won't be punishing her kids anyway, so he should probably just let it go. But check this out, it gets worse. Tomorrow is your biased father's big birthday bash, and the hostile Jang family is absolutely dying to make you look like a complete fool. Since you are the sole true heir of their bloodline, you are the main target. But do you really think the 4 little demon bosses who spoil you rotten would let you walk into that tiger's den without backup? Suddenly, Little Puff gets super anxious, wondering what will happen if they try to bully her daddy tomorrow. She urges Mommy to make a solid plan for her husband, because bullying him is basically bullying her too. Little Grape starts fanning the flames, while Little Cherry asks if their family members are just helpless outsiders. She says they cannot just get picked on and calls to destroy them. Hearing this, Leo White is shocked by all their violent threats. It is terrifying. He is just glad his aunt is calm. Until Chloe's next words nearly give him a heart attack. She casually mentions 2 entire mercenary units are already waiting outside, proving she is the real ruthless mastermind of the family. The following day, you arrive at the banquet hall with Mia and a gift, completely unaware that Frank turned this present into a total trap. To your father, you are just an embarrassing stain on his perfect life. Just as a flash of anger crosses George's face, you walk in with Mia, instantly making your mother Susan absolutely furious the second she sees you. She starts yelling that Jack is not her son and she only recognizes one child, which is Frank. But Frank plays the good guy, pretending to be troubled as he says Jack is already at the door. He fake pleads not to waste Jack's good intentions, but Susan is determined to keep you out to avoid any further public embarrassment. Completely ignoring her husband's wishes, she is absolutely determined to throw you out right now. Frank is absolutely thrilled, thinking you are done for. But watch this. Right at that moment, Susan aggressively storms forward and blocks your path. Susan snaps, demanding to know who allowed you inside, asking if you are completely mute. You calmly reply that Mr. Jang invited you, but she refuses to believe it and furiously orders the bodyguards to act. She screams at them to throw you out, and the guards immediately close in to surround you. Suddenly, an old man shouts for them to stop, declaring that you are his grandson and have every right to attend. It is Elder Jang, looking sharp in his traditional suit and leaning on a cane. Seeing him, Susan immediately shuts her mouth. He tells you to come inside with him, and looking into his warm eyes, you see he genuinely cares. Your heart warms. You apologize for worrying him, but he says it is his fault. Coughing weakly, Elder Jang laments that his poor health kept him from defending you against the toxic Jang family all these years. He tells you not to fear, because tonight he is officially declaring you the sole heir to the Jang family empire. These words send Susan into absolute shock. Meanwhile, inside the stretched limo, Little Puff tilted her head to look at Chloe. Mommy, did you not say you were working late tonight and not worrying about Daddy? So why did you show up here anyway? Chloe stayed completely calm as she glanced at Leo White driving. She said Leo wanted to eat cake, so she just brought them along. Leo White had to take the hit on that one. Meanwhile, Frank finally realized what Grandpa was trying to pull. He smiled like an innocent angel, but deep down, he was grinding his teeth. He absolutely hated Old Man Jang. That old guy was still favoring Jack, but it was fine. Frank had ways to ruin him. Mom, there is actually a way. Frank looked calmly at his parents, and George quickly asked what he had in mind. It is just a little dirty, Frank said as he shared his scheme with his parents. Susan looked pretty hesitant. She worried if it was a bad idea, but George snapped, calling her soft-hearted for a woman. George told Frank to go right ahead because his dad would back him up. With a nod, Frank agreed. Later, Frank slipped into the lounge holding a glass of wine. He bribed a waiter to hand this spiked glass to Jack during the gift opening. The waiter took the cash and nodded in agreement, and both of them quickly cleared out. They assumed they were completely alone in the lounge. But get this, hiding right behind the folding screen was a gorgeous goddess playing with her prayer beads. She walked up to the old man, introducing herself as Sylvia. It has been 5 years, she said. And Elder Jang smiled, saying he could never forget such a beautiful girl. He patted Jack on the shoulder, whispering that she was his old friend Sai's granddaughter. She was the beloved princess of the Sai family, and he urged Jack to go say hello to her. Being 5 years younger, she seemed incredibly pure as Jack politely stepped up and greeted her. Sylvia smiled, grabbed his hand, and leaned in to whisper that he did not need to worry. She meant no harm because he was special to her. But right then, the grand doors swung wide open. Leading the way inside, Little Puff scanned the room, locking her eyes straight on Jack holding Sylvia's hand. The poor kid froze in her tracks, clutching her chest, and looking back up at her mommy with pure drama, asking what to do because she had sour poisoning. She left Leo White completely confused in the back. Little Puff pointed toward Jack, grumbling that some cold-looking girl was holding their daddy's hand right now. Even though Daddy's hand was so nice to hold, Little Grape's eyes were already watering. Those hands belonged to their mommy, and Little Cherry calculated with her fingers, warning that Daddy was facing major female trouble today. Mommy was in danger, but Little Mochi just shook her head, not looking worried about it at all. There was nothing to fear, because Mommy and Daddy were legally married. Without Mommy's permission, any pretty girl was just a side piece, making Leo White cough in shock. Leo nearly choked to death on his own spit, warning Little Mochi that her daddy could never have a side piece unless she wanted a spanking. But Little Mochi was deadly serious, saying Daddy could not do it himself. If those ladies misbehaved, she would treat them like historical side chicks. Noting ancient books said they could be bought and sold. They could even be used to entertain the guests whenever visitors came over. Daddy was always too busy with work to handle these homewreckers, and since she had very little homework and plenty of free time, she could help. She could help him sell them off, leaving Leo White convinced that little Mochi was actually the most terrifying kid there. This sweet-looking kid was soft and innocent on the outside, but totally wicked and dark on the inside. Her sisters only wanted to chase the rivals away, but she had already drawn up a business plan to sell them off. Leo mentally prayed for any girl foolish enough to try and steal his uncle-in-law. Unlike the kids, Chloe looked perfectly calm, though her eyes were freezing cold. She told Leo White to announce their arrival. Leo shivered, catching a terrifying glimpse of her cold glare from the corner of his eye. Feeling like he was about to meet his maker, he swallowed hard and told her not to worry. Everyone watched as Leo White stepped onto the red carpet first. Though usually a total goofball, he instantly switched to being dead serious. George snapped back to reality, grabbing Frank to ask if the incredibly powerful White family had come for him, making Frank laugh nervously. Susan had already heard gossip from the other ladies that Chloe was a single mother, but drop-dead gorgeous. She glanced at Frank, thought it over, and confidently told the father and son that Chloe was definitely here for their Frank. Frank is handsome and pretty capable. Plus, Chloe has 4 daughters, making it quite hard for her to marry. She got devious ideas, hoping their Frank would marry into the wealthy White family. Having Chloe as a daughter-in-law is fine, but her marrying Frank off makes me disagree somewhat. Frank, however, wondered if Chloe would even agree. Joining the White family was not totally impossible for him. After all, if he married in, he could easily end up becoming the head of their entire clan. Is not that way better than just taking over the Jang family? Still, you never expected Chloe and her little girls to show up today. You had just let go of Sylvia's hand when you suddenly noticed Leo White walking straight towards you. Frank, get moving. Go meet your future brother-in-law. Hurry up and say hello, George muttered, pushing Frank towards Leo White as countless eyes in the banquet hall turned their way. Frank felt this was his big highlight moment. He absolutely could not miss it, so he adjusted his diamond cufflinks and strolled forward with what he thought was pure poise. Long time no see, Leo, he said, extending his hand and leaving it hanging. Smack! Leo White slapped his hand away in disgust, touching his ear stud with a look of pure revulsion. Do you have absolutely no situational awareness? Do not you know that good dogs do not block the path? I hate people like you the most. Right now, Frank felt like his face was burning way more than his hand. He stared in absolute disbelief. Leo, what is the meaning of this? What Leo? Is my name something you can just call me? So annoying. Leo White shook his head and walked straight up to you. Now look at this, he hugs you tightly and happily says, sorry, idol. I planned to attend your family banquet alone, but my auntie's car broke down. Since the 4 little babies were pretty hungry, I just decided to bring them along with me. You do not mind that I brought so many extra people without warning, do you? After speaking, he lowered his voice to a quiet whisper only you could hear. Auntie was quite worried you would get bullied here, so she sent us to back you up. Just play along, okay? You had barely recovered from the shock when Leo White snorted coldly, threw his arm over your shoulder, and smiled warmly at Elder Jang. He is my idol. He saved my legs. Our whole family is incredibly grateful to him. Without this future uncle-in-law of yours, my auntie would have broken my legs so many times by now. Absolutely, he is my real benefactor. Elder Jang was pretty worried earlier that you and Leo White were not actually friends, but hearing this, he breathed a huge sigh of relief. He turned to his son George, his face darkening as he snorted coldly. This is your own son. You do not believe in his abilities, and you openly humiliate him in front of everyone. You are truly foolish. George also never expected you to have such a close relationship with the White family, especially since you acted like you knew absolutely nothing. Feeling like he had suffered 8 lifetimes of bad luck with a son like you, George glared with sharp, angry eyes, opening his mouth to criticize instead of praise. Unbelievable. Keeping secrets even from us? Do you even consider us your real family? Are you just trying to live a comfortable life alone while watching your family struggle? How can you be so incredibly selfish? And you call yourself a proud son of the Jang family. You do not think about the Jang family at all, do you? You laughed in pure anger. Good. Very good. Moral kidnapping? Is it? You think you can guilt trip me? But get this. Just as you were about to fire back, those 4 little girls stepped right over, blinking with innocent, harmless looks on their faces. Little Puff spoke first. Old Grandpa, today's your birthday, right? Seeing that Little Puff belonged to the White family, George smiled quite sycophantically, curving his eyes. Yes, it is, sweet little baby. How are you so cute? Are you here to wish Grandpa a happy birthday? But Little Puff just stroked her chin, making a thoughtful expression, before saying adorably that she just wanted to tell old Grandpa about a really, really old grandpa she knew. He lived to be over 120 years old, looking even younger than you. Old Grandpa. Old Grandpa. Do you want to know what his secret recipe is? George thought this child looked totally innocent and would never say anything weird. So he crouched down, asking her with a benevolent smile, "Baby, tell Grandpa, what is his secret recipe?" Little Puff replied in her sweet, milky voice that his secret was never randomly going outside when it rained. Why not go outside? Even Susan nearby found it quite strange, wondering if avoiding the rain truly made you live longer. Little Puff curved her eyes, suddenly smiling like a cute little fox as she explained that it was because he would get struck by lightning. He has no brain just like you, old Grandpa, and a bad heart from always bullying his own son, so he is terrified of karma. Afraid of getting run over outside, and afraid of getting struck by lightning when it rains. He's so terrified of choking on water that he had to buy a massive turtle shell just to hide inside it. That way he can live a long life. Wait. George is thinking, why does this sound like she's totally cursing him? The crowd was actually waiting for this little girl to drop some kind of mind-blowing secret to living forever. But listening to the end, wasn't every single word just a low-key curse directed straight at George? This kid is definitely something else, pulling off such a beautiful, roundabout curse at her age that he can't even get mad about it. Right after Little Puff finishes up, Little Cherry steps forward. She dramatically pinches her fingers to calculate, telling George that she's read his fortune and his heart is completely wicked. Soon, your face will end up totally crooked and you'll be wearing a massive green hat. To fix your luck, she'll even help for free since he's related to Uncle Jack, offering him 2 whole portions as the crowd gasps. Seriously, doesn't it feel like this kid is actually the truly devious one? George was already furious from Little Puff's words, but seeing Little Cherry made his blood boil even more. He instantly shuts her down, saying no thanks. He doesn't need any handouts from a little kid like her. If you reject a kid's gift, you'll get a massive ice sty and get struck by 5 bolts of lightning, she warns with a sweet, crescent moon smile. She looks absolutely adorable and innocent, yet everyone in the room can feel this incredibly dominant, heavy vibe. Honestly, everyone is downright terrified just picturing those crazy curses she keeps casually throwing out. Some of George's wealthy friends can only offer him sympathetic looks, gently patting his shoulder in pity. Getting absolutely roasted by kids on your birthday is rough, and George definitely doesn't want to take this sitting down. But Chloe is standing right there, completely silent, with an icy, terrifying look in her eyes that keeps him in check. While his eyes dart around, desperately trying to reject Little Cherry, over a dozen towering bodyguards suddenly march right into the room. They're carrying several massive boxes, and you find yourself looking down at Little Cherry. The little girl flashes you a bright heart sign, teasing that she made a gift, but unfortunately nothing for you. Catching the mischievous sparkle in her eyes, you quickly catch on, smiling and telling her it is totally fine. You don't need it anyway. Spotting your reaction, George just rolls his eyes and lets out a bitter, cold snort. He mocks that you would need to actually have kids of your own first. Little Cherry just blinks. Skipping the argument, she claps her hands and cutely commands them to hurry up. 1 box for this old grandpa, 1 for that uncle, and another for this old grandma. The bodyguards quickly follow her lead, placing the 3 heavy boxes right in front of George, Frank, and Susan. Slipping on black gloves, they carefully slide the lids open as the curious crowd leans in. Oh man, the exact second they see what's inside, everyone instantly freezes in shock. Those waiting to see a total disaster are now biting their lips, desperately holding back their laughter. Watching their priceless reactions, Little Cherry proudly reminds George of what her sister said. Bad people need turtle shells so lightning won't strike them outside, and to live long like old turtles. So they prepared 3 shells for the 3 guests who look most like turtles. Once Little Cherry is done speaking, Little Puff steps right up. Blinking her sparkly eyes, she sweetly asks if he'd actually reject their gifts just because they look a bit cheap. If he rejects them, she threatens, she'll have to do something drastic, making George's face turn a violent shade of purple. Right then, Chloe steps in, smoothly claiming her daughters are just being a little mischievous. They were only playing around, but if Mr. Jang really minds her kids joking, he should speak up. Either way, she won't be punishing them, so he shouldn't hold his breath until he literally chokes to death. Just standing by and watching your kids completely humiliate guests like this has left George with absolutely zero dignity left. Stepping in, Elder Jang calls the gift quite valuable, welcoming young Master White and calling his presence a massive honor for them all. He invites him to grab a bite to eat first, mentioning they will be cutting the cake very soon. Leo White practically wags his tail, smiling eagerly while declaring he will do whatever his idol tells him to. Not wanting the party to get completely ruined, Elder Jang quietly whispers to Jack that there are too many guests around. For the sake of the family reputation, he asks Jack to stop causing any more trouble. But Chloe responds with an icy stare, agreeing that while reputation matters, it shouldn't fall on their shoulders. Jack apologize? No way. George should be saying sorry, but hearing that makes him completely lose his mind. Why should a father apologize? You emotionally blackmailed him, Chloe says, calmly stepping right to your side. As far as I know, even though Jack's surname is Jen, he has never eaten a single meal paid for by your family. If he helps you, it is a favor, and if he does not, it is his right. Calling him selfish in front of everyone is completely wrong. You all owe him an apology. George completely freezes. He suddenly has no comeback. Chloe adds that her little daughters are still in kindergarten, and right now, they are like blank slates. You are setting a terrible example for them, so you must, she demands. At this, several people in the crowd start sucking up. Yeah, we had no idea what really happened. We are so sorry, Jack. Do not let George drag you down to his level. Next time, this uncle will buy you a nice meal. Watching his old buddies instantly bow down to Chloe makes George feel sick. He turns to his son Frank, hoping the guy will back him up. Instead, his beloved son just whispers in his ear, saying it is just a simple apology to Jack. Just say the words. I really need to make a good impression on Chloe right now, so you have to help me out. Once Chloe and I are together, we will get plenty of chances for payback. George is still hesitant, but Frank cannot wait another second. Sneaking a quick move while no one is looking, he grabs George by the shoulder and literally forces him to bow right to you. He just smiles, asking to continue the banquet since his dad finally apologized to you. Without giving his dad a chance to speak, Frank immediately turns to Chloe, trying to look like a perfect gentleman. Miss White, you see our sincerity, so why do not I invite you over? But before he can even finish, Leo White shoves him right out of the way. Leo looks at Chloe like a happy puppy, pointing out a nice spot. Let us go sit over there, he says, and Chloe immediately looks at you. That freezing stare of hers melts the second she looks at you. Jack, does that sound okay? She asks, and you naturally agree. Leaving Frank and his dad totally ignored in the dust, Chloe and the others sit down with you at a nice round table. Immediately, a few girls take the chance to slide much closer to your side. They have no idea Chloe is practically shooting laser beams from her eyes. Instead, they just twirl their hair, desperate to grab your attention. Brother Jack, I heard you are into video games, and I really want to learn how to play too. Can you teach me? But right after she asks, Little Puff hands her a card, calling it a professional game boosting service. Just pay them and they will boost you to any rank. The poor woman is left stunned. She stammers that she did not mean that, but Little Puff just smiles with massive pressure, telling her she definitely needs a pro. She shivers. A chill instantly runs straight down the woman's entire spine. She tries to speak, but Little Puff is giving her a look so cold it feels like a scalpel dissecting her piece by piece. Terrified, she grabs the card, offers a weak smile, and backs away. Then, Sylvia gracefully walks over and sits right next to you. She gives Chloe a calm, elegant nod, introducing herself as Sylvia. A dangerous spark flashes in Chloe's eyes as she nods back, but then she suddenly grabs your hand and locks her fingers with yours. You can bet your heart is absolutely racing right now. This move is way too sudden, leaving you completely flustered. Boom. A sudden fire whooshes to life deep inside you. Terrified someone might notice your panic, you quickly grab a glass of ice water with your free hand and chug it down to stop the fire. But Chloe? She looks completely indifferent. She acts like absolutely nothing is going on. But her soft fingers are gently tracing the palm of your hand under the table. You choke. Water goes down the wrong pipe, and you start coughing like crazy, totally losing your cool. Just as Chloe is about to grab you some warm water, another soft and slender hand starts gently patting your back to help you catch your breath. She softly tells you to slow down, and hearing the usually freezing cold Sylvia call you brother is a massive shock. Before you can even process what is happening, Sylvia calmly stands up and brings you a fresh glass of warm water. She tells you warm water is much better than ice water. Nearby, a couple of jealous girls have literally crushed their cups in pure anger. Little Mochi is especially furious, feeling like the amazing daddy she worked so hard to find is about to get stolen right from her. She quickly jumps out of her seat, stomps right over, and plants herself directly between you and Sylvia. Looking up with a curious little face, she asks if Sylvia has a brother of her own, and Sylvia gently says she does. Auntie Sylvia has 3 older brothers of her own. So why is she ignoring them just to chase after my Uncle Jack? Listen, Uncle Jack isn't your brother, and he never will be. With that, little Mocha looked back at her mommy. Mommy, isn't that right? We can't just claim random guys as brothers. We can't just go around stealing other people's brothers. Chloe stayed calm, but a tiny smirk tugged at her lips. Sylvia got the hint instantly and smiled, agreeing the baby was right. She admitted she shouldn't play the sibling card, then reached out to grab your hand. You had to stop treating her like a little sister and start seeing her as a grown woman, she warned. You raised an eyebrow, finally getting her drift. And check this out, Chloe isn't letting go. She actually grips your hand even tighter. This tight grip felt almost possessive, making you wonder if she planned to lock you by her side forever. Watching from a distance, Frank saw both women staring at you, and his blood immediately began to boil over. Cursing under his breath, he was absolutely furious that you were trying to steal his women. Remembering his trap, Frank smirked and announced to the crowd that it was finally time to unwrap his father's gifts. He asked the guests if everyone was curious about the birthday presents, admitting he was actually feeling pretty nervous himself. Honestly, Frank feared Jack's gift would be so good it would completely outshine his own presentation. Since they both prepared paintings, it was a wild coincidence that world-class painting masters happened to be nearby. He claimed he wanted their expert guidance, right before his loyal assistant Peter stepped forward with a smug smile. Peter announced that the masters heard about the grand birthday banquet. They're actually waiting outside. And get ready, because right now, the doors are swinging open. Frank only expected a few low-level directors from the local art association. But seeing who actually walked in shocked even him. A guest instantly recognized the VIP arrivals and shrieked in absolute shock. She pointed out the legendary master Kong Wenshan, the top artist in the nation, flanked by two other elite painters. As their legendary names echoed through the hall, the entire room fell dead silent. The guests marveled at Frank's incredible influence to pull such heavyweights, and the guy's ego immediately inflated to the heavens. He gave his assistant Peter a proud nod of approval, but Peter himself looked completely baffled. There was no way Peter invited these legends. Wiping away cold sweat, the assistant nervously guided them over. Frank quickly flashed a fake smile and welcomed them, asking the three masters to serve as VIP witnesses for his father's gift opening. The masters gave a silent nod, and Frank turned his smug gaze right on you. Ignoring your reaction, Frank boldly unrolled your painting first, prompting you to calmly open his own gift box as well. Frank was stunned. The paintings were completely different. He shot a furious, questioning glare at his assistant. But Peter looked just as clueless about the entire swap. Suddenly, Saman pointed at your piece. He laughed. What's wrong with this painting? He mocked that the ink wasn't even dry yet, triggering waves of laughter that filled Frank with absolute smug satisfaction. He assumed his sneaky assistant had swapped the art at the very last minute. Snatching a piece with wet ink was the ultimate trap to humiliate you in front of this entire crowd. Playing the nice guy, Frank hypocritically told the guests not to laugh, suggesting you just grabbed the wrong item. Meanwhile, George stared down at you with pure disgust, sighing heavily about the absolute shame of his family. He spat that you crashed his birthday banquet just to cause chaos and present him with absolute garbage, demanding you leave. While you were ordered out, you stood there baffled by the wet paint, though you kept your cool. You calmly promised Mr. Zhang an explanation, but Susan gritted her teeth, demanding to know what he could possibly say. She sneered, asking how you could possibly turn a worthless piece of trash into something priceless. Hearing the insults and watching Susan lose her mind, Little Grape suddenly charged forward, swinging her chubby little fist to beat the older woman. She screamed that Susan was a mean old witch and needed to stop treating people so badly right now. This unexpected beatdown left Susan absolutely hopping mad. Little Grape crossed her tiny arms, glaring at the crowd with a deadly serious look, and demanded to know if they truly thought the painting was bad. Her bold question left everyone stunned, and they traded nervous glances, suddenly too terrified to speak. Little Grape reached out her tiny hands and softly whispered for you to pick her up. You quickly scooped her up, finally making her quite happy. She rubbed her little face against yours, and told the crowd that her mommy hired top-tier professional art teachers for her. So, she actually knows quite a bit about judging Chinese paintings. That painting you all called trash is definitely not a fake. It is a modern masterpiece worth at least 20 million at international art auctions. Susan just sneered, thinking Little Grape was talking absolute nonsense. What a joke. She laughed so hard, tears almost came out, but Little Grape just snorted and pointed right at Kong Wenshan. After calling him over, she told them to decide if the art was real. Kong Wenshan nodded, stepping forward immediately. Seeing this, Frank grabbed his hand and hissed in a low voice, warning him not to forget the money he took. He ordered the master to declare the piece a total fake. Kong Wenshan stared at him in utter shock, quickly brushing his hand away. He told Frank to stay quiet because he knew exactly what to do, then walked directly to the art. Frank raised his eyebrows, throwing you a smug look that boasted he would definitely win today. Stepping up, Kong Wenshan carefully examined the canvas, lightly tapping the surface and leaning in to sniff the ink. Struck with absolute shock, he spun around to face the others. His voice trembled so much he could barely finish his sentence about the painting. Frank's assistant, Peter, let out a massive sigh of relief. He smiled, telling the masters that even if it is a fake, they do not need to feel bad. The guests started gossiping and whispering even louder. Seeing her sister getting upset, the calmer little Puff whispered to her to stay patient since nobody had officially called it a fake yet. Little Grape sniffled, complaining that even though others do not matter, she is still incredibly angry. Little Puff sweetly whispered that their mommy has a great memory, and she already remembers everyone who said those nasty things. Once winter comes, we will play the bankruptcy game with them. The guests were all talking about your art. But hearing that, they instinctively clutched their chests in fear. Frank assumed the girls were just playing, completely unafraid, as he smugly asked the masters if the piece was simply too fake. Was it putting them on the spot? Kong Wenshin already despised Frank from the start. Seeing him buzz around like a pest made the master furious. He scoffed, demanding how this could possibly be a fake. This is the work of our own teacher, the legendary artist Master Ghost Crane. Forget 20 million. Even if you offered $100 million, he still might refuse to paint a single stroke for you. Kong Wenshin's voice shook with pure awe as his hands hovered over the piece, terrified to even breathe near it. And look at this fresh ink. The incredible strokes, and the spiritual energy flowing through the canvas. This was created less than an hour ago. Kong Wenshin suddenly spun around, his eyes frantically searching the stunned crowd. Master Ghost Crane is in this very room. The entire banquet hall instantly plunged into absolute silence. Now watch this. Every single person slowly turned their eyes to you, standing calmly with your hands in your pockets. Frank's face twisted in disgust as he protested that the master was mistaken. Since Jack is just a failed stunt double, how could a nobody know the legendary artist? He must have stolen it. Stolen? You just chuckle in amusement. Slowly, you reached into your jacket pocket and pulled out a small, beautifully carved blood jade seal. You tossed it onto the table next to the painting, causing Kong Wenshin to lean in with his eyes widening in shock. It is the blood dragon seal, the master's own personal mark. He immediately bowed 90 degrees, loudly greeting you as the Grandmaster, while a massive wave of gasps erupted through the crowd. The failed stunt double and family outcast was actually Master Ghost Crane. This cannot be real. It must be a trick. Susan shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at you and demanding that Frank show off his real, expensive gift. Desperate to save his pride, Frank quickly ordered his assistant, Peter, to unroll his own piece. It was supposed to be a historic masterpiece. But the moment it was open, Kong Wenshin did not even need a magnifying glass. He took one look and scoffed, calling it a cheap, modern, mass-produced print. Scoffing in absolute disgust, he pointed out the clear printer marks visible in the corner of the canvas. You dare show this absolute trash here while mocking the actual masterpiece of Master Ghost Crane? How incredibly foolish. Frank stumbled back, completely pale, before collapsing onto the floor and screaming that he spent $10 million on it. You spent $10 million on a fake because you are a fake. Frank, a deep, authoritative voice boomed through the hall. Elder Jang slammed his cane heavily against the marble floor, glaring at George and Susan with absolute, overwhelming disappointment in his eyes. I have watched you two abuse and neglect my real grandson for years. Favoring this incompetent fool, Elder Jang declared, his voice echoing with finality. Today, he makes it completely official. Jack Jang is the sole heir and the new head of the Jang family. As for George, Susan, and Frank, you are stripped of all shares and banished from the family. Get out of my sight. Dad, you cannot do this. George collapsed to his knees, finally realizing his catastrophic mistake, and desperately crawled forward to reach out for you. Jack, my son, I am your father. Please, but you lost the right to call me your son 5 years ago, you say coldly, without a single trace of pity. Security. Drag them out. While the screaming trio gets dragged out of the banquet hall like stray dogs, a massive collective sigh of relief washes over the entire room. Those guests who mocked you earlier are now shivering in the corners, absolutely terrified of your raw power and the backing of the White family. Hold on, amidst this shock, the banquet hall doors fly open once again. Dr. Ben sprints right inside, totally ignoring the confused security guards, while waving a white folder in the air and panting heavily. Brother Jack, I could not wait. I rushed the lab. Dr. Ben yells, skidding to a complete halt right in front of you and Chloe. What are you talking about, old seven? You ask, raising an eyebrow, as Dr. Ben grins with a massive, ear-to-ear smile. He points at the 4 little dumplings happily munching on macarons, saying, 5 years ago, the Imperial Hotel, room 8808. Does that ring a bell? Your breath hitches and your heart skips a massive beat as you slowly turn to look at Chloe. Chloe's usual icy composure shatters completely, her beautiful phoenix eyes widening in pure, unadulterated shock. Room 8808, you were that man, Chloe whispers, her voice trembling for the very first time. And you were that woman, you reply, as the pieces of the puzzle crash together in your mind, her familiar eyes, your unexplainable connection to the babies, the timeline. Instantly, everything makes perfect sense. I ran a DNA test using the hair on your jacket and the baby's hair, Dr. Ben announces triumphantly, showing a 99.999% match. Jack, congratulations. You are the biological father of these four little monsters. The room erupts into whispers of utter disbelief, but you hear none of it, only seeing those four little girls, their mouths frozen in shocked O shapes. Little Puff drops her macaron, her big starry eyes filling with tears as she looks back and forth from Chloe to you. Daddy, you are a real daddy. Yes, I am. You choke out, dropping to your knees and opening your arms wide. The four little dumplings tackle you to the ground in a sobbing, laughing, chaotic pile of pure love. Little Grape buries her face in your neck, wailing happily, saying she knew it. They did not just pick up a random, handsome guy. They picked up their real daddy. Little Cherry wipes her tears and puffs her chest, proudly claiming she calculated it. She told them Daddy was their lucky star. Little Mochi sniffles, glaring playfully at the surrounding crowd, claiming he is their real father. Our parents are legally and biologically bound, so all other women can back off now. You laugh with tears stinging your eyes, holding your daughters tight before looking up at Chloe, the untouchable, fierce boss of the Emperor Group. This legendary woman, who struck fear into the hearts of billionaires, is currently covering her mouth. With silent tears streaming down her flawless cheeks, you stand up, holding Little Puff in one arm, and walk over to Chloe. Gently, you reach out and wipe a tear from her face, telling her it seems you have 5 years of catching up to do, Miss White. Chloe looks deep into your eyes, the ice entirely melting away, replaced by a profound, overwhelming warmth as she stays completely silent. Instead, under the stunned gazes of the entire capital's elite, she grabs your collar and pulls you into a deep, incredibly passionate kiss. The entire crowd erupts into thunderous applause. Elder Zhang laughs heartily, wiping happy tears of joy from his eyes. Leo White whistles loudly, while Dr. Ben snaps a quick picture for their group chat. When Chloe finally breaks the kiss, she leans her forehead against yours, a soft, breathtaking smile playing gently on her lips. You already have the title of Master Ghost Crane, the head of the Zhang family, and the master of the Divine Doctor sect. But I think, you interrupt softly, pulling her and the babies into a tight embrace. My favorite titles are Daddy and your husband. Little Puff cheers loudly, celebrating that Daddy and Mommy are finally getting married and going to the civil registry tomorrow. And as the four little cuties celebrate their ultimate victory, you know that your entire life, once filled with betrayal and absolute hardship, has finally become a beautiful, perfect masterpiece.